Wow! Metroid, Sonic? Let's see now, what else does this old podcast say? 4 videos have gone up since they played one of David's games. And this Blue Sky post says he's threatening to discuss one of his games now. I bet anything all the art from that Hades episode was behind all those delays. I need to tell someone about this, but who would listen to a podcaster like me? I think Tradin Faves is coming back. Will you help me? Come on, it'll be an adventure!
I really hope my microphone picked that up. I'm so happy. Oh, I was applauding
Actually,
you.
no, Discord. Discord didn't pick it up, but the final recording will hear it. So.
Beautiful. You're going to edit in some stock applause.
Again, you're recording your own audio for a reason. It's good.
It's all good.
Welcome back to Tradin Faves, where we play games on our own time and discuss our favorite parts.
Oh, man. This has been a long time coming.
It's too long, you might say.
Yes.
Many disasters have prevented us from recording this episode.
The great flooding of my home.
The great flood.
Oh, man.
Anyway. We had to build a whole second arc for this guy.
No, but legit also, like, I have been wanting to show you this game for a, like, stupidly long time. But it's one of those ones, too, where I was like, I don't know if Joseph will like this. I'll just hold on to it until we need a shorter game. Yeah,
and then because of all the mishaps that went on through this playthrough, it kind of became not a shorter game for us, but
yeah,
you know what? We're here now, and we've got plenty to talk about.
Oh boy.
First and foremost, our little icebreaker that we use to kind of warm up, ease into the show, and that way people who haven't played the game can still talk about something in the comments. The Shining Force is very old school fantasy, except for when it's not. We'll talk about it. But yeah, our little icebreaker prompt that we brought today is, what are your favorite fantasy races and creatures? Just like fantasy stuff, the fancy stuff that does not exist in our world.
So, funny story, I forgot about this part of the podcast. And so I didn't
prepare anything.
I prepared nothing. It's okay.
Man, I brought like 5 answers.
No, here's the thing though. I live and breathe the fantasy genre. So like I can give you like 6 off the top of my head.
All right. Good.
Man, there's so many choices. The funny thing too is that like I know it's I point to this game specifically, but I do love centaurs. I think they're like really cool when they show up. But I also, you know what's really fun in like D&D? Kobolds and like goblins.
Yeah.
Like specifically like the comedically stupid ones.
Funny little guys.
They are, as a DM and like a fantasy writer, they are some of my favorites to work with because I get to just do stupid things. Go watch our one D&D one shot that I ran and just appreciate the kobolds that I created.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say like goblins also and like silly little guys. Those are among some of my favorites. With goblins in particular, it's when they are not offensive Jewish stereotypes, but are just silly little guys, that's when I like goblins.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about this question because, like, everyone's always like, why would you be a human in a fantasy setting that's so boring? And I'm over here like, I actually like humans a lot.
I do think it's interesting, just like in fantasy genre, how they make humans feel unique or special. Because their thing is that they're kind of the everyman. They're the most... Probably my favorite take is that humans are the most, like, densely populated. That it's like, no, like, they are the predominant race. But then there's still, like, plenty of others.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always interesting when the humans start cropping up. As well as, like, I don't know, how they interact with the other races can be pretty fun too.
Yeah, it's true. I think in terms of, like, other, like, fantasy trope type creatures, two definitely come to mind for me that I feel like are a must-have. One of them is dragons.
Yes!
I love dragons so much. Like, I love, like, good guy dragons, bad guy dragons, like dragonborns where they're, like, partially humanoid but still mostly lizard people. Dragons.
In my D&D tenure, I have played 3 different dragonborns in D&D games. I love the dragonborn.
They're I feel like a dragon is just like a perfect, like, either villain or just like a boss encounter.
Yep.
I love them. It's like, it's just instant intimidation. And then the other one that comes to mind for me that is very different, but also one that I just adore is mimics and, like, shapeshifters, changelings. Stuff that transforms and disguises itself as other things. Love me some mimics.
Those are always fun.
In fact, like, if I could be anything, like a fantasy creature of some sort, I'd probably want to be a mimic.
Dude, that could be fun.
I'm like, brace yourself for whatever comes up next in D&D when I gotta make a new character.
I'm suddenly now being very careful not to kill your current character.
The Dragonborn.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know
Dragons
what's next. Oh, man.
Yeah, people in the comments share with us what sort of, like, tropey fantasy characters and, like, races and stuff you love to see.
Mm-hmm. Because this game, it's got quite an interesting bit of, like, different races of characters in it.
This was a very diverse game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fact that, like, it's not like there's a huge overflow of, like, mostly human characters and then, like, a couple of rarities. It's like, no, there's a pretty good balance of everything.
I know. It's wild.
Well, I suppose we can't delay any longer talking about the game. The first thing that we typically like to do is discuss where we heard about the game from, or, like, our first interactions with it. So I don't really remember who usually goes first, but you're the one showing the game to me, so I guess you go first.
Yeah, I mean, where did you hear about this game? Was it just me?
So, kinda yes, kinda no. Like, I had an experience separate from you with this game. I mean, heck, I'll share this bit of my story first, because I know that you and your friend played it, and you'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I originally received a disc that had, like, the original PC port of the game. And I got it from an old friend, and, like, I would play it on our old, like, family computer. I'll bleep this out, but it was...
Oh! That tracks.
So, yeah, he was a fan of the game, and it was either like a birthday present or just like a random gift. And he was just like, play this. It's an old classic. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And then I was like, it's too hard.
Yeah.
And so I did not get very far, and I let it rot away, and then, as you'll mention in your story at some point, using my PC, you bought the game on Steam back when it was available for purchase there.
Yeah. So to go into kind of my history with the game, one of my friends growing up, like my best friend growing up, and it's so funny that like you hang out with him more than I do now, which is...
We just kind of wound up friend of a friend in the same group.
It worked out that way, and it's funny. I need to reach out to him and chat him up again. But anyway, he had, I believe it was the Sega Smash Pack for PC. It was like a PC port of like, I think Sonic 2 was on there. Maybe like Vector Man was on there. I know that.
Right.
And I think maybe like Golden Axe or something. Vector Man and this were like the two big games that we would play together.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I remember we named, this is so funny and it's blasphemy for the era.
Mm-hmm.
But like, because the main character had a green like tunic, we named our protagonist Link.
It's perfect.
Which is so funny.
People only ever care about the console wars because that was pushed onto them by marketing. Like,
yeah.
You just give a little kid like Mario and Sonic and they're like, oh wow, 2 cakes.
Basically, that's essentially what it was growing up. Like, I learned about the console wars years after they'd ended.
Mm-hmm.
But like, no, hanging out with him, I vividly remember like grinding to promote units, and like the day that we promoted low because he took forever to get any XP.
Oh yeah.
And so like we had to grind, and like I remember at school he's like, dude, I finally did it, like come over and I can show him to you. And I'm like, yes, finally, we're done. Oh man. And then also, so here's the thing though, is once again, much like in our Metroid episode, same friend, that was his copy, and he would play it regardless of if I was there or not.
Yeah.
So I would just kind of show up and be like, oh, you've got a new unit now. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, and like, you know, I kind of just didn't get to see the whole game. I just got to see like bits and pieces that I'm like, this game is so cool. So anyway, fast forward years later, I don't know if you remember in our Danganronpa V3 episode when I was talking about how Danganronpa 2 broke me and the horrible circumstances around me playing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take a break. And I was like, I took a break and I played something else. And this was actually the game that I played. As you mentioned before, you had the nice, like, computer, and
yeah,
I didn't have my own Steam account at the time, but you did. And so I was like, here, I've got the money. Let me just buy it and play it on here. And so...
Oh, that makes sense now.
Yes.
I didn't realize that's when that happened.
Yes. Because again, I was borrowing a friend's laptop to play Danganronpa 2, and it was laggy as all get. That I despise that laptop with my whole soul. But anyway, so yeah, I played through it. I named my protagonist Elwyn. Which was just some letters that I smushed together. But it's so funny because I would later reuse the name for a D&D character that I would play. because I was like, this is a solid name. I want to use this again.
Your experience with this game, I'm realizing, is pretty integrated with your D&D experience in a lot of ways.
Oh.
When I think about, like, your style as a DM, as well as, like, your experience in your own games that you told me about, it's like, wow, this kind of did rub off on you a little bit.
This game left an impression on me, and, like, I can't explain it very well, which is funny because I'm going to try to in this episode, but like just this
join us for an hour of him trying to explain it.
Just something about this game just makes me feel just cheerful and good, and like it's got flaws and we'll talk about it, but like I don't know, man, I vibe with this game. I love it.
No, definitely. So let's kind of break it down here. Presentation is our kind of starting point for talking about the game, and of course the graphics. This game's got some pretty nice sprite work.
Yeah.
I can't complain. It's pretty lovely to look at.
Yeah, the word that I would use is charming. Like it's that like really old art style with like the characters all have very prominent noses and chins.
I was gonna say, like, one of the biggest, like, trademarks of, like, old Japanese art is, like, the characters have, like, really fluffy hairstyles with, like, lots of volume. And, like, a lot of them are wearing, like, headbands and, you know, those, like, products of the late 80s, despite it being a fantasy thing.
Yeah, like... The thing about this game, too, is it's not afraid to get weird with some of its character designs.
Oh, yeah. There's some very strange characters, and I admire the game for that.
And, like, it's got those, like, classic fantasy vibes, but then it throws, like, technology and stuff into it.
Yeah, it never sticks exclusively to, like, the medieval fantasy vibe. It gets other places with it, and I've said this before on like many of the things that we've talked about. It's like I do like fantasy, but I like it the most when it is like not just beholden to a single time period. And they get extra weird with it.
This is like the number one example I point to, because like I love classic cliche fantasy because I love looking at what it does to differentiate itself.
Yeah.
And like make itself stand out. And like this game, like I said, it gets weird with its like its character designs and choices, and like they just like put cool stuff in here just to put it in here.
It is purely like rule of cool kind of inclusions. I like that. And like we've been talking a lot about character design, but I want to say also in terms of the graphics, like they went the extra mile to make some good looking environments as well.
Some good looking environments. The battle sprites are gorgeous.
I think even just like the overworld stuff, I know like the little character icons are just kind of these generic little chibi things, but like the environments all look really nice. There's like good tile sets for, you know, landscapes and castles and stuff. But yes, like you said, the battle sprites is like visually where the game really shines.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, and again, in the presentation, I have to dock it points for the unfortunate flashing effects that a lot of the spells have.
Old video games flashing lights, it's just always a problem.
It's of its era. It thought it was cool. It's really hard to look at.
I think a lot of that stems from, like, home console games trying to make you feel like you're playing at an arcade.
Yeah!
It's because arcades would have like the whole booths with all the blinking lights and all the glow up buttons and everything. You're like, wow, it's so shiny and interactive. And it's like, well, we can only do that on a screen. So here's how we're going to try to replicate that. And unfortunately, it's a big strain on the eyes.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately it does that. And it's like one of like the few like really bad low points where like I'm like, oh yeah, this is an old game. It does that.
Yeah, I mean, I still do got to give them props though. Like the animations of characters attacking are all like pretty cool and creative. Like when you start in the early game and stuff, of course, it's just like, oh, guy swings weapon, and then like the enemy like recoils from the attack or whatever. But like once you get to the promoted characters, you get some more unique classes of characters and stuff. Some of those animations just get wild, and it's really cool.
Yup. They, again, the game isn't afraid to get weird with it.
I do also want to call to attention, I will try not to make the entire episode about this, but it is a commonly discussed thing about it. The game is very similar in structure to Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
And at the time of release, we had the first Fire Emblem was in 1990, and then the second game came out in 92, which was a year before this game. And so I was kind of looking at those games and like comparing, and like they're both still pretty good, especially with like how they accomplished things at the time, but it's nowhere near as ambitious as Shining Force. And like the extra power that the Sega Genesis has, like they took advantage of it to kind of make something bigger and better.
Yeah.
And it's apparently funny because like the creators apparently did not know much about Fire Emblem at the time that they made this, and they were kind of just like, oh, let's make this RPG because it'll be cool. Make it kind of tactical. And then it just, as a matter of fact, it turned out to be kind of similar to Fire Emblem.
It is, and it's so interesting because I think Fire Emblem, as it's evolved, has learned and done things better. And granted, mind you, this is another interesting point for me because, like, I have not played The Shining Force 2. I actually wanted to wait until we got to play it on the podcast before I'd boot up the second game and just play it on my own time.
Yeah, same.
And a lot of people point to it and note that, like, it adds a lot of quality of life features that the original didn't have.
Okay.
And so, like, it's hard for me to, like, point and compare and be like, well, this is better. But, like, I just judge this game for what it is. Because I'm like, well, they made a game and it plays. Like, you can play it start to finish. It's got some flaws. It's got some awesome stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so the only reason that I mainly bring up the comparison between the two series is that it feels like they had a better vision of like what they wanted to accomplish with Shining Force. And Fire Emblem, like, I love, like, you know, later games of Fire Emblem and stuff, and like it's gone in a lot of interesting directions, but it did feel like they had to catch up first, which is kind of rare for Nintendo because they're like the trendsetter for a lot of genres of games.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is one where just, you know, random Sega studio is just like, hey, let's make an RPG, and it turned out, you know, pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's... And also flawed in some ways, like you said. We'll talk about flaws.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about this comparison because we were still talking about presentation.
But yeah, just in terms of visuals, like for a game from '93, it's really good.
It's really good.
It's a good looking game, and it's at times a weird looking game, but like weird in a good way.
Weird and like it has a very distinct identity.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Distinct.
It's funny. It gets compared to Fire Emblem, but I'm like, it stands out from Fire Emblem.
Yeah. Music though, that's another point.
Yeah.
This is once again, this is like a section of this game that like I think really does a lot of heavy lifting for the game in terms of its quality, because this is great for a Genesis soundtrack.
Yeah, for me, because like here's the thing too, the soundtrack is pretty small, but
it is short.
But like, man, does it make a lot out of a little?
Mm-hmm.
Like the small soundtrack that it has, it utilizes it very well.
Yeah, I think maybe the only drawback I would say about it is that you get a lot of, like, repeat songs. Like, there's one song that plays when you're
in combat.
In a town. There's one song that plays during combat. There's, just, like, a lot of repeated use of the same songs from the soundtrack, so there's not, like, a variety. But I think all of the songs are very well composed and hit. And again, like, when I say for the Genesis, there's a lot of Sega Genesis soundtracks that I think do not sound good.
Yeah. One of the things, too, for me, when I think of the sound font for the Genesis, well, first and foremost, I think of Sonic, because I'm me.
Right.
But then I'm like,
and
all
Sonic's like one of the best uses of Genesis sound
because
font.
it utilizes it well. And I think this game does that too, where like the Genesis has that very like spacey synthy sound to its like sound chip. But this one, even with that, it still captures that like that classic fantasy vibe.
Yeah, the compositions, you can tell just from listening to the soundtrack, like, it was intended for an orchestra to play these songs, even though it's on the Genesis.
Yeah, like you hear the trumpets and the flutes and the stuff, and you're like, that's what that instrument is supposed to be.
And the way that they use the percussion, like the snares and stuff, would sound like something you'd hear, like, marching band kind of style.
Yup.
And it's the thing about the way that they do the soundtrack, because, like, it does sound like it's intended for an orchestra, and it's not. But I think they were very carefully considering which instruments to use to, like, match that orchestral vibe. Because there's tons of little, like I said, with, like, the percussion, it'll have, like, kind of a marching feel, or these little, like, I'm not, like, completely a music guy, so I don't know all the terms, but there's, like, the little leaps up the scale where it'll be, like, and it's like, oh, that's supposed to be, like, like, the strings crescendoing, or, like, flutes and stuff. There's, like, little ways that they use what they have to work with on the Genesis sounds to make it sound like a proper orchestra. And I don't know, it's clever,
right?
You don't see enough, like, a lot of times, like, what the technology had for older games, a lot of developers were kind of just falling in line and doing what everyone else was doing to kind of convey an idea. I feel like with the sound in this game, they were a bit more clever.
Yeah.
And to actually talk about, like, songs and stuff, pretty cool use of leitmotifs in this one. They have, like, a lot of repeat, like, different songs will remix other tracks in different contexts. There'll be, like, the happy version of the town music, but then there'll be, like, the sad version of the town music. Or, like, a battle theme will remix the town music as its own theme and stuff. They do a lot of stuff with repeat themes, and it's, like, I would certainly love to see in, like, sequels and stuff, they take it farther and have, like, character themes.
Oh,
but,
man.
Like, at the very least, like, they make do with what they got, and it's, like, really cool compositions.
Yeah, well, we get something of, like, a character theme with, like, Simone at, like, the start menu.
True, yeah.
Granted, that could just be like, oh, this is the main menu theme, but, like, they do interesting things with the music. Like, I was listening to, somebody did a remix of, like, the first Overworld, like, map theme, and then, like, in the middle of it, it dips into, like, the headquarters theme, and then back into the Overworld map theme. Yeah. And I was like, how did that so flawlessly transition?
And I think part of that is, like, reusing the leitmotifs for different situations and stuff, because the songs actually do flow pretty well together. There's multiple people out there on YouTube that have done, like, Shining Force medleys.
Yup.
And, like, the songs always have a nice flow from one into the other. Even the opening sequence of the game is, like, a little, like, prologue thing where it tells you the lore of the world, and then, like, it goes into the title sequence and you actually start the game and stuff. But, Like, the music they use there is kind of this, like, wistful, mysterious sound. And then when you encounter stuff in the game, like legendary artifacts or, like, mysterious creatures or whatever, it will, like, play that song.
Yeah.
And so your brain instantly associates it with, like, oh, this is, like a legend unfolding right in front of me.
This is a legendary item because it's part of the legend.
Yeah. I love when they do stuff like that.
It's good stuff.
Briefly, because I always have to be a nerd and talk about this, sound effects.
Yeah, I didn't have much to say on it. I'm just like, yeah, they're serviceable, they're good, they're iconic to this game.
I think it's pretty easy to not think much of it, if you're just kind of, going through the game, having the experience. But because I am such a dweeb about this kind of stuff, I do notice little things, and I gotta give this game some points. Even way back here in 93, they remembered to, when the sound of the text crawl on dialogue boxes when characters are talking, they have different pitches for the sound effect for who's talking.
Yeah.
Like children and women will have like a higher like beep sound to it. And then like, men and kind of like the average will have like a sort of medium one. And then like villains and, more intense looking characters will have like really deep bassy text crawl. And I'm like, it's such a simple thing to do, but it's good feedback. It feels like it's not just the game box beeping at you, but it's like actual characters talking, even though there's no voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Another like specific sound effect that I want to highlight is the sound effect for when anybody lands a critical hit.
Yes.
In the game. It's like a very intense boom, like thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty good when you land a critical hit on the enemy, but man, do you feel it when the enemy lands a crit on you.
Yes.
Because like the numbers don't get very high overall in the game, and so like it's pretty easy for like a devastating critical hit to like knock out one of your units. And so just like you hear the sound effect, you get the feedback of the screen flash, and it's just like, oh no.
It's just, oh, that is not a small number.
And so me being, as I said, the sound design dweeb that I am, I think the sound effect they chose for critical hits sells that pretty well. Mm-hmm. Maybe even better than like even like Game Boy Fire Emblem, because that one's got a cool critical hit sound as well, but like I think in this game it might be better. Anyway,
interesting.
I
like them both.
That's all the time we have for me being a dweeb about sound.
No, yeah, because like there again, part of the thing too is like you can play like sound effects from this game, and I will be able to like pick up like, oh, that's what that is. Like you said, that's like the critical
this
hit,
thing from the Shining Force, yeah.
Like when somebody casts a spell is another one.
Yeah.
Or like when you cast a healing spell and like the sound of like the fairy like whizzing by.
Yeah.
Like that lives in my brain rent free.
Or like the little twinkle sound when you heal somebody and like the HP, like the number goes back up.
Yep.
It makes that little like bleep sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels very standard for like a retro game sound effects library. And so like if you don't care about sound design, it probably won't grab you.
I'm like it's serviceable.
Like there's some games where you can't ignore how good the sound design is. You kind of can with this game. But like I don't know. I noticed little things as I was playing that made me smile.
Mm-hmm. But if you're ready to move on, we could talk about the gameplay.
Yes, indeed, sir. I want to start with, like, right off the bat, my number one big critique, the thing that irks me most about this game, And then after that, I can just like have that off my chest and we can talk about positives. But
Okay, because I have a couple to get off my chest,
right.
But
so there's one specific thing about this game that rustles my jimmies, and it's like realistically, it's not that bad of a thing, but it was just something that like even well into the game, I was still thinking about that was making me mad. So outside of combat, when you're just, like top-down perspective, exploring towns, talking to NPCs, doing whatever, the way that you interact with things is not simply just like you push a button to interact and then it'll do whatever. When you push the A button, it brings up a menu. And one of your options is to talk with whatever's in front of you or search an area in case there's something hidden in front of you, or like to check your items or to do whatever, like the two other things. But it's like the fact that like there's not just a dedicated talk button, but you have to like walk up to somebody, open this menu, press the A button a second time on the talk menu to like initiate a conversation with somebody, and then the text is scrolling. It's like, it's not bad. It's a totally forgivable thing that they could do, but it's just it's so inelegant.
Yeah.
Games even before this have had like where you just walk up to somebody and you just push A and then you're talking to them because they're like, you pushed A next to this person. So the game knows that you're talking to them, and not like, oh, do I want to search the area? Do I want to look at my items? It's like, no, obviously I want to talk to the NPC. Like, or I want to read the sign or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a small thing, but like, as speedrun minded people would know, like the few frames that you lose to like menu stuff do add up to the overall game time. And so like you certainly could just shave it down a bit more by not having to open the menu to talk to people, but just like having a talk button, or just, like using all the buttons that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sega Genesis had, didn't it have like 3 buttons on the controller?
Yeah. It's
like,
funny that you're complaining about this one, because it's one of the few things that I didn't really mind playing it. Was very memorable to me about this game in particular is that I'm like, this is specifically how this game plays. And like, it's just something that I just got used to, and it didn't really bother me.
I mean, like, I did learn to deal with it, and it's not like a deal breaker in the slightest. I'm just saying it's one of those things that I noticed that's like, this could have been done better, and it's not like an age thing. It's because games that are older than this one had already figured this out. It feels like a holdover from like text-based games where it's like you had to like type what your action is, and so you'd walk up to somebody and type like talk instead of like having a talk button.
Well,
but anyway, go on.
Well, I was going to say, it's interesting, too, because this game, technically speaking, is a sequel to, I think it's called Shining in the Darkness.
Right, yeah.
And that was an older styled game where it was one of those, like, maze, like, you turn left or right or go straight through, like, this maze, and then enemies show up and you take turn-based combat against them. It was one of those.
Oh, okay.
And, like, I'm curious if, like, bits and pieces of this might have been holdovers from that. It's funny, too, like, looking at the, like, because, it has, like, the menu that would pop up. And what's interesting is that I want to say the team that worked on this would go on to be a part of Camelot. And they would make the Golden Sun games. And, like, it's been so long. I played a little bit of the first Golden Sun. I'm intending to actually play through it. But, like, it also has that, like, same kind of menu of, like, like the little icon of, like, talk to this person or, like, use magic or something like that. And so, like, it's just interesting. Okay. I think it's just something that is unique to this studio.
Something about their style of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm such a stingy nerd that I'm like, save me a single A button press
Yeah,
if you can help it.
it was one of those things that never really bothered me because I just figured, well, this is how the game is.
Yeah.
Because like that's the thing too. For me, I feel like the gameplay is where the game really shows its age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's grindy. You have limited inventory space. Then you got to like shuffle your items around to pick up something new.
Yeah.
Combat takes a while on some maps. And it does that like old game thing where it's like, figure out where to go. Like, I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
Talk to this specific NPC that you don't know who it is. You know, like it's got old issues, and I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't know, it's something about this game, again, like the gameplay, it's the strategy aspect of it, the tactics thing, and again, I need to play more tactics games, because I really love tactics strategy war games, like, I think they're fun.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned it too, but like, you know, this game does get compared to Fire Emblem because, you know, you get a squad of guys with faces and names and
right.
But what I like where it differs from Fire Emblem is there is no permadeath. You can bring your guys back. However, you can choose to play that way if you want to. Like, it gives you the option.
Yeah, it's optional permadeath is the really cool thing to highlight about this game, because it's the way that it's structured is that like when a unit dies on the map, they are considered dead and they're not usable. And even if you go back to HQ or whatever, instead of your unit being there at the base, it'll be like a little spirit, like a little wisp.
Yep, just floating there. They won't say anything.
Yep, and it's like they literally do die. And so if you want to have the experience of having permadeath, then you just don't revive them.
You just leave them there. Yeah, but then if you're like, no, I put in so much work in this guy, I want him back. Yeah. Like, then you just go to, and like you pay and you revive him. And, you know, and that's how you kind of have to grind some of these units, because they're pretty squishy when you first get them.
Yeah, and I do like that the system, to still make it kind of a fair but not as harsh punishment, is that the amount of money you have to pay to revive them scales with that unit's level.
Yes.
So the higher leveled they are, the more you have to pay for them. Because it was such a grindy game, I found that I was just getting a ton of money. And so I became pretty, like, not afraid of just, you know, risking characters' lives and then shelling out the money like it's nothing.
Yeah. I also like...
In theory, and especially more so for the early game, it can be pretty tough to have the money set aside to be able to revive units. So there still is, at least in the early game, some strategy to that, which is cool.
I also like that, like, your protagonist, you know, gets the egress spell, which is the, like, hey, just escape and go back to the start of the, like, go back to the last town that you saved in. And, like, you get to keep all of your experience and levels and everything, and just, hey, I'm a dip out. And then, you know, that is essentially is how you're able to grind in these battles. Is like, hey, you could probably beat this chapter with your one really broken unit, or you can sit here and kind of keep retrying the battle and leveling up your guys until they're all really good. You know, but like, it's wholly optional and it's your choice on if you want to do that.
This game in particular, with like the way it handles like difficulty spikes and stuff, it does kind of seem like they want you to grind a little bit at like certain points in the plot and stuff. But the fact that they created the egress system of like just warping out of the battle in an instant, like, it feels like they understand that you might need to grind, and so they're like, oh, we'll give you this convenient little tool. And like, the best part is, if for those really rare instances like MP sucking enemies or whatever, you don't have enough MP to egress, you can also just run your protagonist character back to the start of the map, and you can exit that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to have enough like movement to get there.
Yeah.
But it's like I like that they give you multiple ways to handle that stuff.
I also appreciated that, like, because you game over if your protagonist dies, but it does just reset you back at the last place you saved, and you still get to keep all of the XP and gold that you got while attempting that run.
Yeah, it's not like you just reboot back to your previous save. Like, you get to keep everything you got in the level, even though you died.
Because for as long as combat tends to take on some of these maps, I appreciate that it respects your time enough to be like, hey, you don't need to redo that.
Yeah, it's like, you earned this, you get to keep it. That is... Again, I don't want this to be the whole episode, but that is a huge W that this game holds over Fire Emblem, where it's, in that game, it's like, if the protagonist character of any given Fire Emblem character dies, then it reloads your save, and you don't get to keep any of that stuff that you got. I feel like the way that this game does it is just so much better.
And especially, like, because again, both Fire Emblem and this one have random level ups. They have level curves on stats of just like, you're likely to get a good level up on this or whatever. Like, I've had Fire Emblem games where I had a run where everything went perfectly. I got incredibly good level ups, and then one unit, like, I misput them somewhere and they got killed, and I was like, well, I gotta restart now. And then, like, the one that I beat the chapter with, I got way less lucky.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice that, you get to keep all of your hard-earned winnings.
It is pretty consequence-free in that way, in what otherwise feels like kind of a difficult and potentially punishing game at certain points. They extend that one olive branch to the player, and it's like, this is nice. Thank you guys for doing this. Because it's less of like a skill thing and more of like a time-saving thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think developers are cool when they're conscious of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Especially in a game as old as this one. It's like, this is actually weirdly considerate.
Mm-hmm. I will say, in terms of talking about game design stuff, we talked around like how the system works, but to explain the way that battles work, and this is kind of a big way that it differs from Fire Emblem, every individual unit on the map gets their turn. Mm-hmm. And there's like a turn order that's decided by like the speed of the units or whatever, by like their stats or something. And so it's like how fast you are is like who gets the turn first. But it's with Fire Emblem, they have like you move all your player units at once, and then the enemy moves all of their units at once. Here it's not like that. It's whoever's fastest moves, and then the next fastest character moves, and so on until you've gone through every single good and bad guy unit that's on the map. And that was weird. Mm-hmm. It was hard to get used to.
Yep.
It made trying to level up a weaker unit very painful and tedious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think otherwise, I do like this system. It's like the speed-based turn order.
It's funny because I think it actually better captures like the spirit of being like a tactical commander, because in an actual battle, stuff is happening like rapid fire, and you got to be ready for it.
Right.
Like
you're not gonna like have the enemy side waiting for all of your guys to move first, and then you're gonna wait for all of them to move.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's gonna be some tug of war to it, like both sides moving at the same time, and so I think you're right. It does capture that spirit of things better.
Mm-hmm.
I also do want to say, like, in addition to just like the strategy with this game, there's some very interesting map gimmicks on every chapter.
Yeah.
And this is I think maybe like later Fire Emblem games are kind of like doing some cool stuff, but then also at the same time kind of just being like either you beat all the enemies or you just beat the boss. And then that's it. Whereas like some pretty weird and cool stuff will happen on these maps that will affect things, and we'll kind of...
We have a section to talk about it.
Yeah, when we get into the section where we're talking about each of the chapters and stuff, there are specific maps that I'm ready to talk about like the gimmicks and stuff and how they affect the strategy in a lot of cool ways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're like coming into listening to this having never played The Shining Forest and you're interested in knowing if it's worth your time, there's some stuff about this game that I think is really cool. And I don't even want to just use like the "for its time" phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think like you can justify bad game design a lot with the phrase, "Oh, for its time, it was good." But like, for as many like old things about this game that are kind of archaic, there's also a lot in here that I think holds up. Even with like modern video games, there's stuff in here that like really impressed me about the design of this game.
Yeah. Again, it's what I said at the start of this section where I'm like, you know, this game, it shows its age. And like, there are things about it where like, oh, that's kind of inconvenient and doesn't have the modern polish. But then like, there's other things like where I'm just like, man, this game is really cool for trying this like really weird or interesting idea.
Yeah, there's some really forward-thinking designers involved with this game, and I respect them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I like, there's a lot of like hidden secrets in the world, and especially like secret characters that like the plot doesn't force you to have join your roster. Like you have to go do things to seek them out. I love when games have lots of like mysteries and little like rewards to find.
Yeah.
By like being
there's
curious.
Even like joke characters that you can recruit.
Yeah, there's joke characters too.
There's like joke characters and items that the developers are just like, yeah, no, this is just here because we thought it was funny.
And some of them are pretty bad.
Yes.
But it's just funny that they're there. Like, again, like we were saying, the roster is very diverse. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that amongst that roster there are also like silly characters who are extremely bad at combat, but it's like, hey, look at this, I got this funny little this funny little guy here.
You and I are both thinking of the exact same character. I know we are.
Right. But even then there's also like secret characters who are like weak when you first get them,
or yeah,
but like with enough work you can get them to be broken, or some, like you were saying, that just are broken right out the gate, and they're like, here you go, here's easy mode, use it if you want.
You found the broken toy, now you get to play with it.
Now you get to break other people's toys.
Essentially.
It's, yes, like, that is a big thing that I will love, especially in older games and a lot of the, like, cryptic, archaic, like, hey, if you know to check around this area where it looks like there's nothing, there is this amazing secret waiting for you. It's a fun way to, like, first of all, to reward curiosity, but also, like, to make a game replayable if you missed something the first time. And then you want to like try something different on another go through of the game. Which, like, that's another thing about this game. It feels like it was built to be replayable.
Yes,
I like that about it.
And like, I know it took us a while to play through it because just the nature of us being adults and not having free time together.
Right, we could literally only play the game for about 2, maybe 3 hours if we were lucky a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took us time to get through. But
it's a surprisingly short game. And, you know, like, really, if you know what you're doing, you can blast through it pretty quick.
Yeah. You can even use the beginner Pokemon method of like how people go through Pokemon with only their starter. And that's like enough to get them through most of the game. You can have your main character guy handle most of the combat, and they'll just get so overpowered that they just tear through the game.
Well, like, I told you about it, but, like, I found, like, somebody had, like, a blog on Tumblr that they were like, hey, so I'm playing, calling it Girls' Night, and I'm playing through the game with only female characters. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's such a fun challenge, because, like, it's like, okay, I'm limited to just these kinds of characters.
You get a lot of freedom with, like, who you can put on your party and stuff, and the ways that you want to organize and prioritize.
Yeah, and you don't get a lot of people in your squad, so you gotta make the choice.
Yeah, it's pretty fun in that way. So, I guess as we go on to, like, talking about specific characters, and then kind of cover more of, like, what the story looks like in some of the individual maps and all the more like nitty-gritty stuff. For those that haven't played the game, if you want just like our quick suggestions about it. As we said, it's a pretty old game. There are bits where the age shows, and there are bits that have not aged as well as other aspects of the game. So like, it might not be everybody's thing, but if you are specifically into the tactical RPG genre, if you enjoy games like these, then, as I've mentioned before, there are little details about this game that have like really impressed me. I was expecting it to just be like truly like old and crusty, and no like real redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
I can mask off, I can finally say that now that I've gone through the game. But no, I think it's still worth taking a look at. I have even heard people who strongly dislike the Fire Emblem games still say that they like this one. Even if like Fire Emblem is your baseline, and you're like, oh, I don't care about it that much, this one still could surprise you. So, and again, also, it's short.
Yeah.
Like, it's as far as, like, where you can play the game, I think it's on the Switch now.
Yeah, it's on Switch Online as part of their Genesis.
Well, there's that, but then there's also, like, you can get the Genesis pack on the eShop.
Yup.
Of, like, specifically, like, Switch ports of Genesis games. If you don't want to pay for, like, the Nintendo Online service for, like, everything, that's also a way to get it. The Steam port of the game is unfortunately delisted.
Yeah.
Along with, like, a lot of the other Sega Genesis games. Just the rights have expired, and so they haven't made these games purchasable again, unfortunately, which that's how we played the game. I really enjoyed playing it that way, having a fast forward and a rewind button to take advantage of was very helpful, and you might not get that depending on which version you play. I think it's also on, like, mobile devices. There's, like, a iPhone, Android port of the game.
I can't speak to the quality of those, but
yeah, I can't either. And like, neither of us have touched it, but there's also like a Game Boy Advance remake of the game.
Yeah,
which changes things, improves some.
It changes up the graphics.
People argue makes some things worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of tried to stay away from the Game Boy Advance port, because I'm nostalgic for the old, like, graphics, and it's one of the reasons why I was like, no, we're playing the Genesis version, because, like, so much of its identity that I'm nostalgic for is, like, on this.
Right. This is what you're familiar with, and so that's why you wanted me to experience this version of the game.
And I've heard like mixed things about it. I think it really does depend on, like, where you start with with this game.
True.
Because, like, I've heard people be like, oh, yeah, I played it on the Game Boy Advance, and it was great. And I'm like, okay, if you liked it, then I'm sure it's probably good. But this is the version that I play.
Yep, that's fair. Okay, so now as we go in and kind of talk more details, expansive stuff, if you're concerned about spoilers, this is an old video game. We're going to be a bit more casual about just mentioning stuff, but we will also try and take like the plot points as they come and not just be like talking about the ending to the game right off the bat. If at any point we're talking about this game and it does sound interesting to you, but yeah, I don't know. If what we described makes it sound like you want to play it, go ahead and listen. If you're still not sold yet, feel free to just keep listening to us discuss the story and the characters. And if at any point you do decide, then you can just exit out of the video. It'll be here waiting for you to come back.
But yeah, we talked about like how we wanted to structure this as a little more freeform and loose.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to cover the whole game beat for beat.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, if you get me going talking about nitty gritty, I could talk about this game for 8 hours or whatever.
Oh, yeah, easy. But I kind of want to
I think, we'll just kind of leave it a bit more loose than we usually do.
Yeah, I kind of had it separated by, like, the characters and then the stories and, like, the maps, like, moments.
Yeah. It'll mostly be, like, a greatest hits discussion. But in terms of characters, let's talk about this mysterious protagonist, man.
Yeah. Oh, boy. The funniest thing, too, for me is, so, like, because his default name is Max, but, like, every playthrough I've ever done with this game, I've given him a different name, and then it's hard to, like, default back to just Max.
It's fair. I mean, I think I've, as I've been looking at the game over the internet and, like, general discussion, most people do seem to just refer to the protagonist character as Max, and so, like, I've kind of made that adjustment in my mind. But quite hilariously enough, for our playthrough, we just named the protagonist Trafave. It's like a mashing of like the title of our show.
It was funny because we deliberated on it for a bit because we're like, do we want to just call him Max so that we can talk with other people about him as Max? And I was like, I don't know, man. It's our playthrough. You can do what you want. He's kind of the self-insert. And so we named him Trafave, and like we're like, what a stupid name. And then it just kind of grew on me like more and more as we played. I'm just like, no, that's Trafave.
I'm kind of fond of it. I think in the future, if we have to like name something in a game, or at least like make a file name, I might start defaulting to Trafave more because there's something kind of charming about it.
I know Trafave was a lot of fun, but like, dude, he's just your stock standard like cool protagonist sword guy.
Yeah, he really is like the and again like here with this character more so than others, like the headband and like the swoopy bangs on his hair and
the blue
like
cape.
The blue cape and everything. Yep, the green tunic that makes him not Link.
The Kroger brand Link.
I mean, he doesn't have the Peter Pan hat.
Yeah,
so, like,
it's
he's
true.
Got that going.
It's true. That's the thing about Trafave too, is that like I thought he was neat, like especially because again, you know, this game gets compared to Fire Emblem so often, and like your protagonist is usually a lord, you know, someone of nobility, and like Trafave is just like a guy, and you know he's being trained by like the head of the royal guard. But, like, he is just kind of, like, you know, I'm a guy with a sword and I'm going to do the right thing.
Just kind of an ordinary dude. I will say, interestingly, I looked into this. A bit of that is due to localization changes.
Yes, I know that this game is infamous for, like, having a bunch of localization changes. And, like, on the one hand, I'm like, that sucks. Like, there could be more. But also, like, a part of me is like, well, this is the version that I played and grew up with, and so I'll just take it for what it is.
Yeah, and that certainly was the mindset that, like, I look back on this game with, is just like, well, this is the way that I played the game, was how they localized it, and so I take it for what it is. But I do think the changes are at least interesting to note, because Max kind of is supposed to be more of a character in the original Japanese script, and he has, like, significant ties to the events that are happening in the plot. Whereas when they translated the game to English and localized the script, they stripped a ton of that away from him and made him a blank slate, with the hopes that, like, you know, you project yourself. You get to name the character, so, like, that's you in this world. Instead of, like, you know, kind of the more ties. Like, Max is a character, like, the way the game opens, he is supposed to, in the Japanese script, he's got amnesia. And so they do more of that trope. And, like, the characters that are all there, you're meeting them for the first time. And then, like, you sort of, like, form this group together at the start of the story. Whereas the way the English team localized it, Max has just already been living there. And he's already with this group.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, in this version of the story, he's kind of just a dude who's, like, a good sword fighter. And that, like, starts us on our journey, as opposed to, like, the whole amnesia subplot of the Japanese game is... We'll talk about it more as we get into later stuff, in case, like, this plot stuff interests anybody.
Yeah, I have some stuff to talk about, too.
I'm sad that they scrubbed a lot of this plot, and it, like, rips a lot of character away from Max because they treat him like a blank slate. But again, like, the game is generic enough that, like, if you're not trying to look at this like a series and continuity that carries over between games, if you just take it for what it is, it's still fun.
Yeah, it's still fun.
The experience isn't hurt too much. It's when you want to get into, like, how the plot connects to the other games and stuff that it truly becomes kind of a problem. But anyways, and that's like, maybe, like, Max is also probably the character I have the most to say about that, because of the interesting changes that localization has on him. I don't want to say this, like, too harsh of a criticism, because it's not I'm not mad about it, but, like, the cast of characters are kind of generic, and the whole plot is kind of generic.
that is one thing, too, about our playthrough, and kind of what I set out to do when I was like, okay, we're going to play this game, too, is that I wanted to kind of inject a little more character into these guys, because they are kind of stock standard, and, like, they do unfortunately do the Fire Emblem thing of, like, hey, you joined my army, that means you can't have any more dialogue.
Yeah.
We don't interact with them anymore, and so they're kind of just there, and, like, the stories are, like, what happens in the battles.
Yeah.
You know, and so, like, that's part of why because, again, like, this is an old game, and there's no voice acting, so I was like, hey, let's give some, like, fun voices to these characters, and, like, you know, I always say, I'm like, you always make your own fun.
Yeah, we definitely, like, created headcanons about the characters while we were playing, and we came up with, like, our silly voices just as a means to entertain each other while we're going through the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it was fun. It added something to the game, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, it's hard, because I'm like, I don't feel like it's fair to judge the game based on that when, like, if, like, I were doing a review of the game or something, I'm like, well, it wouldn't be fair for me to talk about the game like this, because it's just something I made up. It wasn't intentional.
No.
But, like, genuinely, I think the game was even more fun because we did that together.
No, I definitely agree. In much the same vein, like part of the reason that I fell in love with the Zero Escape series is because we did that where we like turned off the voices and then dubbed it, like me and my friends. Like we dubbed over the game and, you know, created headcanons and changed the characters and stuff. It's not the original script.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do respect the original script for what it is. But I also fell in love with it because we turned it into this thing that was fun for us as well.
Mm-hmm. That's part of what makes it fun.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, one of the characters I gotta talk about May. And like,
yes,
it's so funny because she got benched in our playthrough. And because I said, like, at the start, I was like, hey man, this is I'm showing the game to you. I've already played the game start to finish with her, and she's my favorite because she's a centaur, but she's like an absolute tank, and she could just take a beating and just dish it back out. And I loved her, especially you saw how great the Valkyrie was, and like putting that on her is insane. But like I couldn't bring myself to give her a silly voice because I'm like, she's too cool, man. She's the daughter of your mentor and like is fueled by revenge, and that's why she joins your army, as well as like also there's like implications of her being kind of racist towards humans. And like how she grows and changes by the end of the game. I'm just like, oh, I love her.
It's true, yeah. And it is kind of funny just the way that the game is laid out is that like the game will treat her like an important character regardless of if you use her or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I mean, like, I didn't want to like step on your toes and be like, oh, this is like one of your big favorite characters. Put him on the bench, never use him.
No,
but
yeah.
like, I do respect that you let me kind of just like pick and choose what I wanted and like craft a team for myself. So I did not get to experience as much of May throughout my adventure.
Yeah, and again, because I wanted you to have that freedom, and because of that, you played as characters that I didn't use in my playthrough, and so I was like, oh, that's different, but that's cool. I like it.
Yep, and I think right off the bat, one of those characters for me was Ken.
Ken. Here's the thing: I might have unintentionally, like, by giving him the voice that I did, the Sonic the Hedgehog voice.
We just gave him Sonic's voice.
Just because, like,
and
I was like...
made a bunch of Sonic jokes. No. Here's the thing, though, because I was going to bench Ken until I noticed how absurdly high his HP stat was.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, he's like a different kind of wall. Because he's not, like, defensively tanky.
Yep.
But he's just got such a surplus of HP that you can kind of just throw him wherever.
Yep. And just... giving him that voice made him such a fun part of the army. Because again, we'd throw him into the most dangerous things, and he's just this like cool skater bro of like, oh yeah, this is happening. I'm gonna die.
But it's the absurdity of the fact that he's so unlike Sonic as a character. He's a centaur.
Yeah. He's a centaur. He's just like your generic dutiful knight.
And so the idea of a Sonic personality imposed onto a character that clashes so hard with that, just, it makes me laugh.
It was so funny. And it got even funnier when Ernest entered the picture.
Yeah. So the deal with Ernest is that he's out of all of the Centaur units, and I think like out of all the units in general that you get in this game, he is like extreme 90s edge. Mm-hmm. He's got like a scar and this permanent scowl on his face. He's got silver anime hair. with his like fluffy anime locks, and he's like, just the moment I saw him, I was like, this man is edgy.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I thought he was a villain at first.
Yep.
And then, like, when I was finding out that, like, he didn't have as much consequence of, like, being there, and then the gears started to turn, and I was like, oh, he's a recruitable guy. I could have this edgelord if I wanted him. And I wanted to try him out, because I tried out a couple of the Centaur units, because I wanted two. I felt like that was a good balance for the party. And so I was trying out some. We were trying out Arthur for a bit, but he's unfortunately a bit too much work.
I wrote in my notes.
For my liking.
I wrote in my notes. I was just like, Arthur, king of the brittle.
I am Arthur, king of the brittle.
Because the poor man requires so much babying.
He requires a lot of effort, but basically by about like, what is it? By like halfway, maybe a little more than halfway through the game, he catches up and then becomes a beast.
Mm-hmm. He's
one of those like weak units with high growth opportunities.
Uh-huh. He gets magic.
But anyways, yeah, he gets magic too, which is crazy. But that was the thing, right? I was trying these different centaurs out, and Ernest was one that I was like kind of convinced that I was gonna bench.
Yup.
And then offhandedly, with his edginess, the other centaur character that we have is Ken. We have the two of them together, and it just kind of clicks for me. Oh, we kind of have a Sonic and Shadow thing going on.
Yup.
And because all we ever do is talk about Sonic, I had to keep him. And then he ended up becoming so awesome.
Oh, dude, yeah. Well, I think what made it even funnier, because, like, Ernest, we hadn't used him right away, and so he was lagging behind a lot of people. And so we kind of had to protect him and baby him and get him caught up. And, of course, we'd always pair him up with Ken,
who was like one of our better guys.
And it was so funny how like essentially Ken like we're like Ernest is this edgelord. Like we unintentionally created this narrative where Ernest is this edgelord who is just like, I'm better than all of you, but then like dies all the time and like keeps missing and having garbage level ups. And then you have Ken, who's just like, hey, Ernest, like, I'll watch how it's done.
Check this out. We use the phrase "check this out" a lot.
like you know, he'd like Ernest would attack somebody and deal 1 damage, and he's just, oh man, and then hey Ernest, check this out, and then like he'd come in and just kill like one shot this enemy, and he's like, I was gonna do that.
I think like the real cherry on top of it all was when we got the Valkyrie and I gave it to Ernest and we were calling it his Chaos Spears.
Yes. Oh, it was so good. Like, it was like their dynamic was one of the things that carried this playthrough.
And that's the thing, like, Centaur units, the fact that you just get so much movement and you can just blitz through areas.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, like, pick off enemies or, like, use distance throwing spears to, like, weaken them so other units can come in and finish them off. Like, I love the Centaur units in this game. They're so cool.
And it's fun because you get so many. And so, like, you get choices and options with your centaurs. Mm-hmm. But yeah, their dynamic was just... It was everything to me in that playthrough.
For real, yeah.
I find that, like, most of my notes... Because, again, my notes were mostly just jokes that we'd say, and I'm like, I'm writing this down so I can remember it. And then forgetting, like, what the context was.
Mm-hmm.
And just... It's so funny. Yeah, like Ernest, the Knight of Edge, and then... I forgot, like, the stupid things that we had Ken say.
We had so many of those dumb running jokes. I guess to keep things moving along, the next character in the queue is also one that was very near and dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
We had good old Tao, the
Tao.
elf. The elven mage. Or as I called her, the nuke.
The nuke. That's the thing. I told you this story, but so that it's here on the podcast.
Uh-huh.
Because again, played this with my friend growing up, and Tao is like a must-have in like every playthrough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we benched May, and I was dying a little, but I was like, no. Tao rules. Like, keep her with you. Like, just trust me. And like, when I played Pokemon Diamond, for the first time, I caught a Rapidash and put it on my team, and I named it Tao after this character because, like, I love her so much. She's just fantastic.
It's out of all of, like, the guys you get at the start of the game, there is something about her that I just latched onto really quick. She's got, like, a really appealing character design. The fact that, like, attacking from a distance is, like, such a useful thing as well. And then as you level her up more, being able to attack multiple enemies at once with higher level fire spells and stuff. She just reached this point where she was able to rain down terror on the enemy side.
She could literally drop the nuke.
And, like, it became even better because, like, the big trade-off with mages is, like, you get heavy firepower, but then they're frail. And so the fact that we found, you know, the items that boost your defense stats, and so, like, we were kind of able to keep Tao afloat by, like, feeding her defense-boosting items and stuff. And, like, I think I pumped more of my resources into her than anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And then even, like, in the late game stuff, I gave her, like, the movement speed ring so she could traverse better distances and just output damage.
That's so fun.
We didn't talk about this too much with the fantasy races thing. I've never been the biggest fan of elves. Like, elf characters in general have always, especially when, like, humans and elves are, like, separate things, and it's not just humans with pointy ears, but, like, elves are a distinct thing. I never cared about elves much, but I ended up liking Tao so much that she might be, like, one of my favorite, like, elf characters
because she's
overall.
Just fun, because, like, again, she joins you right at the beginning of the game, and you get almost no dialogue from her. But, like, her personality is essentially, I want to burn things.
I'm powerful.
I'm the best.
Well, and even, like, this kind of goes with, like, all the mage characters in this game, but, like, especially out of all the outfit designs, I love the way the mage characters look. And, like, their robes and everything. And the fact that, like, she's got, you know, she's not wearing it in her character portrait, but in battle she's got, like, the hood with, like, the really tall point to it and everything.
It looks like a wizard hat.
It makes her even more wizardly. And so, like, when you go there and just launch a hail of meteors down on the enemies, there's something about it that just makes me feel very powerful.
Yep.
And I think, like, on repeat playthroughs of the game, I'd very much enjoy, like, because she was mostly the mage that I used, I'd like to enjoy, like, using the other mage characters as well. I don't know. Spellcasters are just a lot of fun in this game.
Yeah. Well, because also, what was really cool about her, too, is Diane. And the fact that, like, hey, she's got a sister. And, like, they have, like, the same hair color and pointed ears and stuff, but Diane is an archer. And it was so much fun when it dawned on us that, like, because Tao had learned the boost spell.
Yep.
And then we were like, wait a minute. We can power up Diane and, like, nuke guys from 3 spaces away. Because,
like, with the archers in this game, they get, like, the long-range bow weapons, and then they get, like, bazookas and, like, crossbows that shoot explosives and stuff. And so, like, we got to this point, Diane, essentially, since we're talking about her now, became the Nuke 2.
Yes.
Electric Boogaloo, or whatever, like... Because we would have Tau, like, in addition to her own crazy firepower, Tau could also, like, you know, increase the attack stat of a unit for a couple turns. And so when we figured out we just have Tau buff Diane, and then she goes in and blasts stuff.
Literally, like, load the nuke into Diane's rocket launcher, and Diane would take the shot.
It's so cool.
It was so... We were like, the sisters are a terror on the battlefield.
I'm thinking of... Do you remember that one meme with, like, the two kittens? I'm just imagining Tau, like, I'm the nuke, and Diane's like, I'm the launcher, and together we are the Nuke Sisters.
But, like, that's a part of, like, what we'd come up with, and it was so much fun. Diane was also interesting because she was just reliable chip damage from a distance.
Yeah, whenever I needed to train up weaker units, the fact that, like, Diane could hover around them and still get pot shots on the enemy and then bring them to a state where the weaker unit could get the kill, like, oh, that was great.
Yeah, Diane and Tau, like, the duo ever, next to maybe Ernest and Ken.
Mm-hmm. And it's the fact that the two of them work well as a duo is something that I ended up appreciating. For those that care, there's a secret Easter egg item. You can put Tau in a bikini.
That's right. No, do you remember? Because, like, we sold it again, and then you made, like, the Kingdom Hearts joke of, like, looks like my summer vacation is over.
That's right. Oh, it's... Again, like I specify, I love it when games have a bunch of goofy little secrets and hidden things in all the corners and stuff. This is one of those, like, 90s ones of, like, okay, game devs being sneaky little horny guys, like, sneaking their little bikini outfits in for the female units or whatever. But it's...
Well, because it's for Tau and then for Anri.
Yeah, there is one for her. It's like a green dress.
Yeah, it's like a mini skirt or something.
Yep.
Again, just, it's silly, but the fact that, like, the two mages are the ones that get this, and nobody else in the game gets it. Although, I think there was, like, a joke we made at one point where we traded it on, because we're like, okay, we need another spot in the inventory. We traded it to someone else, and it was, like, a guy, and we're like, I don't think this is my size.
Yeah. Put it on Hans.
Yeah, Hans. Do you want to talk about the legend?
Yep. Just Hans.
Hello, little man. Would you like some more arrow soup? I like, we were playing this because, like, every guide that I've looked up has been like, archers suck, don't use them. And, like, because the thing too is, like, Hans, for the early game, he's decent. And then once you get Diane, he starts to fall off hard.
Yeah.
And, like, especially because, like, you only have enough gold for, like, one of them to be well equipped. And so it's like, well, Diane's kind of the better unit. Bye, Hans. But, like, we still kept him around for a while just because, like, we kept cracking jokes about him, like, and just doing, like, this stupid... Yeah. I
remember the moment we found him. And it's like, what voice do we give this character? And I saw that his name was Hans, and instant you were like, oh yes, it is me, Hans. And I was like, no, we can't do that. That's too stereotypical. But of course, we just rolled with it. And
it's
then,
just funny because he's an elf, but, like, an elf with, like, a German accent is such a funny visual. And then, like, because he'd still... Hans would still occasionally, like, double an enemy, and we'd be like, oh, Hans! And then, like, it got to the point, though, where, like, he was lagging behind, and we were like, okay, we're gonna bench him once we have somebody that we want to bench him with. Because, like, you know, we got, like, Arthur, and Arthur was just a fragile baby. And so we're like, okay, we're not keeping Arthur. We're gonna
Yep.
We're gonna keep Hans, but Hans, it's like, and then we started making the joke about Hans being like, "No, I want retirement." like I don't want to be on the battlefield. And then, like, I remember the day I was like, "Okay, we've recruited a character that we were gonna replace Hans with," and then you made the comment of like Hans went home to his student loans and nothing else. And, like, then immediately after benching him, we started making jokes of him being like, "Oh, are you gonna put me back on the team?" like he wanted retirement so bad, and now that he's got it, he's bored and wants to go back to the battlefield.
I just think it's funny, this idea of, like, somebody so eager to retire and then they just don't have anything meaningful to come back to.
Why did I want this?
Grass is always greener type of character.
It was so funny with Hans.
Another notable one of the secret recruitable characters that I very much fixated on was Mr. I Cast Punch! Gong.
Oh, Gong. I loved Gong. He was great. I knew I wanted you to at least encounter him. Because I was like, well, I remember him being a decently good unit if you put the work into him.
Uh-huh. It's the fact that you get, like, he's not just a healer, but also a barehanded brawler. So, like, you don't have to equip any weapons to him, and he'll just, you know, slug all the enemies. And he's got that big, like, traveler's backpack and everything. Like,
yep.
Gong just has this, like, aura to him. He's such a cool unit.
Yeah, well, and then when you promote him, too, just, like, his rippling muscles, you're just like, dude, Gong is a unit.
He is as I said many times throughout the playthrough, and this ended up becoming, like, a term we'd use all the time, but, like, he's almost kind of, like, despite being in, like, a medieval fantasy thing and being, like, a healer and stuff, he's kind of Rambo-coded.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we just, like, this buff man, we'd send him on his own running through the battlefield and just beating stuff with his bare hands.
Yup. It's cool, too, that he kind of became, like, our secondary healer of the group. Because he could, like, I love that it's like, okay, you look like you're built to just be an offensive, like, you know, brick wall. But then it's like, no, I'm a support unit. I can cast spells and heal you and stuff. And I'm like, this is so cool. And you're a secret character.
Always what I think about in these tactics games is, like, how healers are always, like, super frail, and, like, the only trade-off is that you can heal other units that are meant to do the fighting while they hang out in the back. And so the fact that, like, instantly we've got this guy, and he just defies the tropes.
Yes.
And is just so, like, capable in combat, but also can heal the rest of his party, like, it's so neat.
This woodcutter half giant that lives alone in the mountains. He's just like, yep, all right, I'll come help you guys.
I'm trying to think, is he the first, like, recruitable, like, secret character?
He's technically the second, because there's another one that we recruited.
Right. There is one that comes first.
Mr. And My Axe.
The dwarf known as Gort.
Gort. The amount of And My Axe jokes that we made with this man were so much fun.
Essentially, we just superimposed Gimli over top of this guy, but...
One of my favorite jokes that we ever made was in the final, like, the second to last map, or was the third to last map, where we had him and Trafave just go off on a solo adventure. Like all of our army went one way and those two went on their own. And I was like, this is literally Gimli and Aragorn in Two Towers. And then I made the joke. I was like, throw me. Wait, don't tell the elves. And we were talking about like Tao and Diane.
Yeah. It worked out a little too well.
It was so funny though. And like the fact that he turned into a Beyblade when he promoted.
That's right, because his attack animation after promoting is that he like jumps and does the spin before slamming down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was fun. That's the big thing that surprised me about Gort, because I saw him and I'm like, oh, he's kind of cool. He's got like his old white beard and everything. It's just an old man character. I was not expecting him to like stay good.
Yeah.
He totally gave me the vibes of a character that would fall off, and he just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that's the other thing. He's the same class as Luke, who you get at the start.
Yeah.
And Luke was kind of whatever for me. I didn't really use him, and I didn't care much. Like
Luke is one of those guys that, like, if you keep him doing well, he can be a solid unit.
Right, he can stick around.
We kind of invested in other characters, and so Luke started to fall off, and so we didn't we end up giving him like the Morty voice.
Oh jeez, Trefave, I don't know if it's safe over that kind of
shtick.
But that was the thing, is one of those characters that got more priority was Gort, because he was surprising me with how strong he was.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, what went as this character that I kind of wrote off as somebody who was going to get benched really quickly, he just kept earning his keep. And then by the time you're getting, like, legendary axe weapons, and he's the only one who could wield those, I was like...
And my Atlas!
Well, I gotta keep him around, because no one else is going to be able to use this, and he's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It was very fun.
Yep. Another one of my personal favorites, of course, was our favorite weird little guy, Domingo.
Yes, of course.
Domingo was one that I was like, I need to make sure Joseph sees this guy, because he was he was maybe my favorite, like one of my top favorite characters, because like he's a spellcaster, but he is just a brick wall of defense.
Yeah.
You know, and of course I had to give him the goofy voice. And there's the day where I was just like, all living things kneel before your master. And then just cast Freeze 4.
Domingo was crazy. The fact that, like, you kind of have to, like, approach enemies and get in range of them, and then you're at risk of taking the first hit. So the fact that I could bait out any enemy by just flying Domingo into range and just having him stand there and tank hits, and then the rest of the army would come up and swarm around them, and then, like, by the time we're all caught up and wiping through the enemies, a healer can just get to Domingo, get him back to full, and then he can just tank the hits again.
Yeah, not to mention just his HP and MP stat were, like, so ludicrously big.
Oh, and the fact that he gets that spell to buff the attack stat of other units as well.
He got
like,
that
was so useful.
Didn't we at one point try to, like, use D-Soul on, like, a boss enemy or something? We're like, what if?
That's right. Because he gets the one-hit kill spell.
Yup.
And there was a lot of times where I was just like, it's probably not going to work, but I gotta try.
But if it hits, this will be the funniest thing. Domingo was just a funny guy. And, like, again, completely optional. If you don't have the egg, then you just miss out on him.
It's giving Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
Yeah.
And get, like, the Yoshi egg. Like,
yeah.
I was getting the same thing from this. The fact that it's like this egg that you carry around with for a bit, and then you can finally hatch it, and it's just this unusual creature.
Mm-hmm.
And he pops out of the egg speaking full sentences.
Yeah, it's top of the morning, you thing indeed. Like, he has... I know I gave him, like, the goofy voice, but, like, he has, like, sophisticated dialogue. It's so funny.
It's like the fact that one of the units you can get on here is functionally just an alien.
Yup.
Amongst all these fantasy characters. I'm like, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Another recruitable unit, this one's kind of more plot focused, but I was very happy to see was Chris.
Yeah! Oh my goodness.
She is especially unique because she's kind of like a reindeer, a little bit of a dog kind of faced.
I want to say the instruction manual lists her as like a dog folk, but like I always thought she was a reindeer.
She does kind of.
It might be the nose.
But I mean, like, whatever it is, she's like this kind of more like animalistic person. But she's just like really cute and nice, and she helps you escape from a jail, and then she's like, I can heal.
And then we're just like, bye, Lo.
Nobody wants to use Lo.
I made the joke that I was like, Lo is like the Kroger brand, like Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah.
Which is
the
terrible.
The thing about Lo is that, like, he's not bad by any means, but he's just painfully average, and every other healer is awesome.
Yeah.
In this game, like, literally every other option you have in your party for a healer is like, they're so cool.
And the thing too is like, Lo gets some cool stuff at like his later levels, but you gotta put the work into him. And at that point, I'm like, no, I would rather use Chris because they come with a power staff, so like they can already whack things and deal damage.
Plus, in the late game, they give you Tarasu, who is the same class, but he just does what Lo does, but better.
Mm-hmm. Just already promoted and busted. But Chris, I love Chris.
Yeah. Just a very cute character. I love that she has a spell to buff your speed and defense in a single go.
Yeah, that was what I found we used her most for, is just, what if I just buff your speed and defense so you get more turns and you can take more hits?
It was great. It was really great.
That was honestly, that was the other thing too. In addition to Ken, she was the other one that was following Ernest around. And just like, hey man, we need to make sure you can take a hit so you can get some more levels.
Well, it was always, she would always cover up any weaknesses in the party.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anyone who was a little bit more on the frail side, she could just buff their defense and have them charge in and not even care and hack away at enemies. So I really liked her for that. I also think Henri was cool. That's another like plot relevant character. Out of everyone in the game, I feel like I should have used her more.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little sad that I was like, I didn't want my party to be like too front loaded with spellcasters.
Yeah.
Especially because during the late game, I was more in need of like tanks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But she was, Henri was cool. And so it was like, I think of everyone that we benched in our playthrough, Henri was the toughest one because she was doing good, but like we wanted to try out other things.
Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that felt like I could have maybe benched Gort in favor of using her, but it was just kind of how the chips fell, and like I said, I was in need of the more like tanky, like fast damage dealing units, and so I didn't get her caught up.
Yeah.
But I think like next playthrough, I'm gonna especially focus on using her because she's like one of those units I want to see more of. I want to see her at her full potential.
Yeah.
Some other ones. Let me think.
Xylo. He's so cool.
Wolfman.
I was sad that there was like a brief period where he started to fall off and we were like, oh, Xylo's going to get benched. And then suddenly he just like stepped up and was like, nah, Legion of like wolf lasers.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't really that he was falling off. It was just the difficulty curve. And like, it was hard to get him caught up. But like, Xylo is just one of the most, like, hype units.
He's so cool. He's so freaking... The fact that he has, like the claw, like, the Wolverine claws on his, like, fists. He's awesome.
There's a lot of other ones, but I'm kind of surprised at actually how long we've been going at this.
I know.
Talking
Well,
about these
because they were just
stuff,
fun. But... Like, we didn't even mention Blue.
Yeah, Blue was another one that I wanted to highlight. He was so cool. You just get a young dragon in your party.
Yup.
And I love the fact that he's young. It's like a way of balancing it, so you don't have just like this like brutally overpowered mythical beast in your party. It's like he's still a little kid, but the potential to become so powerful is there. And then when you promote him,
if you put in the work, he becomes like he gets, I think, the best stats out of anyone in the game.
That's fair. And the fact that he's a flying unit, he can just go anywhere.
Do you remember
high movement, high power?
When we sent him up like and around behind the enemy and he just stole the Sword of Light out of the treasure chest?
Oh yeah.
He's just like, this is mine now.
I'll take that. Oh, good fun.
Man.
There's so many crazy characters in this game, and you only have so much space for all of them. Like there's Gunts, who's just like an armadillo guy in like a huge like mech suit.
Yeah. We didn't use them, but like Kokichi.
Yeah, Kokichi, the old man with his little like flying
machine. The two flying birdmen.
Yeah, the bird peoples.
Yep, which was cool.
There's freaking Adam. You just get a robot.
I know. Adam is the biggest tragedy of this game because he is so freaking cool and he is so just garbage.
Yep. You get him so late into the game and he requires so much work to get strong. But again, I told you this, but I'm like, if we weren't like playing this so we could record this and talk about it on a show, I would have put in the effort to train him up.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is like you kind of need to like, okay, I'm going to use Adam, so I need to save all my turbo peppers so that he can move.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's freaking Joggert.
Joggert, that's the joke character.
He's so dumb. I love him. Or like,
he's just this doofy little guy, and he's like absolute trash in battle.
Freaking the other ones were Musashi and Hanzo.
Yeah, the samurai and the ninja.
Which I like. That was one of the biggest reasons I wanted you to play this game. Is I was like, you get a literal like ninja and a samurai like to join your army. This is so.
The funny thing is, I felt like I didn't want to use them because I felt like you were imposing them onto me. Like, oh, these are characters you're gonna like, and that sort of defiant side of me is like, well, no, I want to use Tao and Gong.
Yeah, I know.
But like those biases aside, they're extremely cool, and I was glad that I ended up getting to have Musashi on like the final roster because he's just so tanky.
He's so tanky. It was great, and we needed a tank.
It was extremely useful. Again, that's another one that, like, character-wise, I might have wanted to use Henri more than Musashi. But I just, like I said, the difficulty spiked at the end there, and I just needed that defense. And he provided it.
Yep. You know what was another fun character to voice? That wasn't necessarily, like, a recruitable party member, but was Nova. I just want to your face.
Oh, yeah, he's the The guy that manages your HQ and stuff and gives you the advice on battles.
I always, for whatever reason, I think of Piccolo just because he has the turban.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, getting to just voice him, because it was always funny because his dialogue would pop up, and I'd be like, oh, of course, that's me. Of course, I'm speaking the words now. Like, every time.
Yeah, that kind of Leonard Nimoy voice that I was like, oh, I like this for him.
He's so cool, and I wish he was, like, usable in battle, because he's so cool.
That's the other thing, too, is that he's, like, an elderly kind of, like, dragon folk. And so he's, like, past his prime and can't really fight anymore. So, like, you don't get, like, the power of the dragon, but he's, like, this wise old dude that has all this advice for you and everything. It's like, oh, he's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, in a perfect remake of this game, they would let you, like, have him as a secret unit as well. But I think it also makes sense that he's a sidelines character.
Yeah. Well, and again, I love that, like, he runs the HQ.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's like, oh, who do you want to put in your party? Oh, do you need advice for the next battle? Like, whose items do you want to switch around? You know, I loved that about him. He's just cool.
Yeah. I know there's characters we haven't covered, but, like, I think I kind of got my fill.
We talked about, like, the big ones.
We did at least cover a majority.
Yeah, if we want to go talk a little bit about, like, the story and like, some of the maps and stuff.
I think, like, one of the very first things you notice upon starting the game, this game is pretty goofy at times.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
It has, like, an inherent silliness to a lot of the stuff that happens. And, like, frankly, that makes me happy that, like, NPCs will say stupid stuff. There will be funny little, like, quick interactions you have to get rare items or secret party members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, like, that whole side quest where you get turned into a chicken.
Yeah. There's a quest where you get turned into a chicken. There's a thing where you, like, this, like, lady's bragging about her pretty new dress, and so you, like, push a cart, and it, like, gets it dirty, and then she shoves you into the ocean, and you, like, ride a current that takes you to a little island where an item is.
Mm-hmm.
It's nonsense, but it's good nonsense.
There's the one of, like, the guy, like, up on top of, like, the top of this building, and he's like, oh, the view's great from here, and if you, like, push him, he, like, falls down to, like, a lower level, like, down a slide, and then if you go down and talk, he's like, oh, the view isn't as good from here, I'm going back up, but then, like, he's old, so he can't climb up, he's like, I can't do it.
I can't get back. There's so much silliness in the game, and it's good. It's food for my soul.
The king, like, running the item shop. He's like, well, there's no law that the king can't run an item shop.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, like, one thing I do want to talk about, how I was mentioning how, like, there's very interesting map gimmicks on a lot of the levels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even as early as the first battle, they're doing this stuff in a way that kind of, like, I didn't notice it at first. It was kind of more like looking back and realizing how cool this was. But, like, the fact that it starts out, you're at this, like, fortress and you're going to have your first skirmish with the enemies. And it's pretty, like, standard fare stuff. And then right before the battle starts, there's an earthquake, and it cuts off a huge, like, whole half of the map. And so now your objective, like, you have to move around the earthquake as it hits. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of, like, sets the standard that that's what the game is going to be. The maps are going to have gimmicks that influence your ability to get through in some way, or things to interact with. Like, it's a very easy, like, simple concept for the first map, but, like, even right off the bat, the thing with, like, the earthquake changing the layout of the map is like, oh man, like, this is cool. There's not enough of this in Fire Emblem.
I know, like, I think the best examples of this, like, one of my favorite moments, and again, I was so excited when we got here, was when we got to Alterone. And, like, that was the map where, once again, we had the, like, Kane pulling, like, Darth Vader in Cloud City, like, where we got arrested, and then Chris busts us out of prison and joins our party, and then you go and you have the battle in this town that you were just exploring earlier.
Yeah.
And, like, the town is destroyed. And, like, I think that was, like, when I first played this with my friend, that was when my jaw hit the floor. And I was like, this game is something special.
Yeah, it's the destroyed town and the fact that, like I mentioned this, with the soundtrack, how it's like a remix of the town theme to be, like, sad. And you see, like, guards that have, like, bits of red on them, like they're bleeding and stuff. Oh, yeah,
no, that's the other thing. The aftermath of, like, when you finish that, like, you hear the destroyed town and you see everyone just, like, dealing with the devastation of what happened.
Like, everyone is so, like, depressed and stuff. It's amazing how such an old, simple game is, like, this good at, like, setting the tone for the story.
And this one, like, for me, like, that moment felt like it was the wake-up call for the Shining Force of, like, oh, man, we gotta move. We gotta get to work.
Yeah, there's real consequences for all this kind of stuff. And I mean, like, Fire Emblem games kind of do that too, how typically you start as, like, a lord, and so it'll be, like, the king gets killed by the enemy nation or whatever.
The king dies.
And so it's like a call to action. But I feel like this way, you see a lot more of the consequences of it by, like, getting to run through this really sad town. There's, like, the girl talking about, like, before you go to battle, how she's like, I had a terrible dream. And then, like, you come back and, like, the destruction of the town. She's like, this is what I dreamed about. I knew it was coming.
Oh, man, yeah.
It's like, oof.
The other chapter that really stood out to me was the laser eye.
Yeah.
That was such a fun and stressful chapter. Just because, like they set it up and they just start, like, it takes, like, 10 turns to count down.
I mean, first of all, the fact that it's a machine that you're seeing in the fantasy place. This is, like, some of the earliest points where they introduce robots.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, yeah, like you said, the countdown happening every turn.
It's the fact that, like, it can damage its allies and stuff was just, like, it made it terrifying.
And so it's, you have to, like, decide whether to risk it or not, and, like, run across this long straight and risk getting hit by the beam. There's that small, like, patch where you can stand to get away from the blast.
Yeah.
Or you can just wait at the start of the bridge, but then you're, like, stuck there not doing anything.
Yup. That was the thing too, because we were using her at the time. We made the joke about, like, May doing the Akira slide.
Right, it's instead of a motorcycle, it's a centaur, but you're doing the Akira slide.
Man, I think that's the thing about this game too, is just the world is so cool. There's freaking centaurs, robots, there's bird people, there's skeletons with guns.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, in the end game, there's just a skeleton with an Uzi, and I'm like, what on earth? That skeleton has a gun. This is awesome.
It's so my brand of fantasy, where it's, like, not bound by anything. It truly can just be, like, anything goes.
Oh, man.
And it's really funny in that way. I'm remembering also another, like, one of those, like, overworld gags. There's, like, the guy who has, like, the pentagram and he's trying to summon a demon. And he's like, I'll summon the most evil creature imaginable. And it, like, summons his wife and she starts nagging him to, like, do chores.
That's right. Oh, man.
It's such a dumb gag.
It's so dumb, but, like, it has fun. There was oh my, I don't know if you remember. was with the boat. We got the boat and they lit it on fire. We're just, Seymour, the boat's on fire. No, mother.
It's just the plot progression.
It's just the hordes of Runefaust.
Oh yeah.
No, but like that was such a cool thing too, because like we had worked our butts off to get that boat, and then we got on, and immediately the enemy's like, "Nope, sink the boat. Like, do not let them get to our country."
They just show up, light it on fire, and you just watch as the fire spreads, and you're just like, well, we're out of a boat. I guess that's not what we're doing right now.
Yup. And then, like, you gotta do so much just to get a new boat, too. And it feels like each fight is like the enemy is one step ahead, but like we keep pushing through and fighting against it.
It's a pretty good plot twist, too, because you just assume that you're going to get the boat and that you're going to be able to sail out. Like, you don't expect the enemy to interfere so immediately.
Yeah. And then the fact that, like, once you get the boat, you go down into, like, the, like, below deck into the headquarters, and every single party member gets new dialogue about being on the boat.
Yeah.
And being at sea. And I just thought that was so cool. For, like, the next, like, 3 or 4 maps.
Yeah. I guess technically this one happens before the boat, but, when you get to Rindo,
yes,
and there's the whole like circus tent map,
the Rindo Circus.
That level is just so cool. That one's a little less gimmicky than other maps. It is kind of just a straightforward skirmish, but it's the fact that the enemies are all like mannequins
and marionettes, and they're terrifying.
And it's like, out of all the maps that use that, like, third battle theme, that's, like, kind of the mid-boss battle theme, like, it's one of the most memorable because of that. It's a remix of the town theme, like, done to, like, a battle pace.
It's, again, bringing it back to Alterone. That's the first time you hear it in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, everyone refers to it as Rindo Circus, because also Rindo Circus is, like, the first, like, major difficulty spike.
Mm-hmm. And it's environmentally like one of the most memorable areas in the game.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is another one. So, because I wanted to talk about this here, about Cain.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know if I gaslit myself into this, but like, Cain being Trafave's brother, is that something that was removed in the localization?
So, yes.
Okay.
That is the thing that's in the Japanese plot of the game that in localization they took out.
Because I remember reading that, and so I was like waiting. Like, I didn't want to say anything, and I was waiting for it, and then it never came up, and I was like, did I gaslight myself? Like... I swear I read this somewhere that they were brothers.
Because that is technically, like, the big draw of the plot in the Japanese version of the game, like, is that Max doesn't have his memory, and, you know, just the amnesia and everything, and he's just kind of, like, naturally is, like, found to be this insane, like, swordsman and whatever, and he's, like, really driven and whatever. And so then finding out after the fact, like, hey, you're actually, like, royalty and stuff, and you have all this involvement in the stakes of what's going on, as opposed to just a blank slate character that's supposed to be you in this fantasy world. Like, that's one of the major reasons that it bothers me that a lot of this stuff was taken out. Because, like, the story feels... like so generic and like it's missing something, and then suddenly like a lot of the twists at the end game get really cool, but like that's what I think the plot was missing that the English localization takes out.
I just say Cain was such a fascinating antagonist / ally.
Yeah, Cain was a great villain, and he had like a ton of presence. I will say, at first it was kind of easy to mix him and Dark Soul up, because you just have 2 armored villains coming in and taunting you. But, like, now that I'm kind of more aware of the differences and stuff, like, yeah, Kain, especially that chapter where you gotta fight him in Dragonia.
Yeah, do you remember when he crit one-shot Domingo and we panicked?
the tankiest boy.
Down in one hit. It was just like, we are not ready for Kain.
Oh, man. It was so scary, but it was, like, the best kind of scary.
And then I think, because, like, I think the time that we did it, Tao got a crit and dealt, like, an obscene amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Kain was so freaking cool.
Yeah, definitely. And then the fact that, like, the whole setup of it, he was being mind-controlled by Dark Soul and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool, impactful plot twist, but I was still kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting. It's because we didn't have that context that he and Max are brothers.
Yeah, and see, that was the thing, was, like, I didn't want to say anything, because I was like, no, the game's going to say it later, and then it never did, and I was like, oh, I probably should have said something.
Yeah, I think that actually is, like, one point towards, like, maybe why you might want to play the Game Boy Advance remake. Mm-hmm. Is just that the translation's more faithful. But even so, with or without that, like, I think Kain had a lot of presence in the game.
Yes.
He made for a really cool antagonist, and then it was cool to see him get that turn at the end.
Yeah, because it was also cool that, like, Kain is just like, I'm gonna go fight Dark Soul. And, like, he keeps just, like, running off and doing his own thing, but, like, being this, like, powerful ally.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool.
I think it's very important in a story to let the protagonists have a relationship with their villains, so you build them up. And so it actually feels cathartic when you fight them. And so the fact that that's the case with Kain, with, what's her name, Michaela,
right,
and with Dark Soul, how they're just constantly showing up and ruining your day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, by the time you actually get to fight these guys, you're like, yes, let's do this, let's throw down. I'm ready to stop you. It's good storytelling.
It's so good. Oh, man. I don't know if you had anything more to say before we talk about the finale of...
Let me see. Oh, one other thing to kind of talk about, like, a bit more of, like, gradually stuff that progresses to the final battle. There was the Tower of the Ancients, where they really started introducing, like, the robot characters.
Yes, it's where you meet Adam.
Yeah. And it's the fact that they introduce so many different types of robots as the game keeps progressing. There's, like, the missile ones that are, like, really fast and just do, like, quick impacts. There's, like, the like, floating robot ones with the claws that, like, shoot the lasers.
Yeah.
There's, like, the mini eyeball orb ones as well that have, like, the really devastating laser attacks.
We saw those and we were like, they need to die now.
There's so much cool stuff that's introduced at this point in the game.
It's also cool that, like, they're robots, but they're, like, ancient, and so they're, like, have, like, exposed wiring, and they're, like, falling apart. They feel like zombies, but they're mechanical.
Yeah, like, they would be even more powerful if they were, like, brand new, fully complete, but, like, they've just been, like...
left to time.
Wearing down and lost and broken apart and stuff, and so... Yeah, I like the way you put that they're like zombies, but they're mechanical. It's such an interesting way to do robots in fantasy.
It's one of the reasons I wish Adam didn't suck.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, his ties to that make him such a cool and interesting character.
There's also what's the name of the evil robot that's, like, the boss
of
that chapter?
I'm blanking on the name, but I know who you're talking about.
It's yeah. Because he's, like, kind of slow, and he, again, like a zombie, like you said, like, he kind of, like, shambles over, but then, like, once you get into combat with him, he's, like, a heavy hitter. Was it Chaos? No? Because there's like a couple of chaos-themed items at this point in the story. I can't remember his name. But he's that one like rogue robot.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know the one. I forgot to put him
I know
down
what
by
you're
name,
talking about.
but...
Because he like split into 3.
No, not the... Because the one that splits into 3 during like the final battle is the Colossus.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. I know what you mean.
I'm talking about the one that's kind of like Adam.
No, yeah, you're right. Okay. No, now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, it was like chaos.
Yeah. It was something like that. I didn't write down the name, but I remembered he was a really cool boss. With that, though, at the end of the Tower of the Ancients, you get, in addition to the Sword of Light, you get the Sword of Dark. Mm-hmm. And you combine them to make the Chaos Breaker.
Your protagonist gets a freaking lightsaber as a weapon.
It's so cool.
It is the coolest thing to do in a fantasy story.
I mean, I don't know about the coolest. I think there's a lot of cool things you could do.
Yeah, but it's one of.
Giving him a lightsaber is up there. And the fact that it like just lets you freely just like shoot out lightning magic as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so cool.
It's awesome.
It almost kind of... I wonder if this is on purpose, but like the fact that it's like the kind of green glowing lightsaber weapon and your Max's promoted outfit is like all black. I wonder if they're going for like a Return of the Jedi kind of thing with Luke.
You know? I wouldn't be surprised, but it's so cool.
I mean, the difference is that Max gets his like little cape.
His purple cape.
But I wonder if they were going for something there with the color scheme, because that's kind of...
Maybe.
That's what it's evoking for me. And it is a lightsaber weapon, so... Mm-hmm. You know. Anyway, yeah, though, the like final like stretch of battles that you have in the end game, it's so cool.
That was intense.
Like, you get... What's his name? Rambladu first, and how he's like, you fight through just to get up to him, and then he's like, robot ambush, go!
And then, like, those pillars that you were, like, moving or weaving around suddenly are all enemies.
Yeah, just the fact that it's like, you have to make a call quickly, because he's, like, on one side of the map, and the robots are coming up on you, and it's like, do we turn around and fight the robots and make sure we're good, and then go fight Rambladu? Or do we try and beat him before the robots fall on us and start attacking us? It's great set piece.
It's so good.
And also at that point, I had trained up enough to handle the difficulty spike. And so, like, I did take my army over, and we just wiped out all those robots.
Yup. There's that.
Cool chapter.
There's freaking Dark Soul.
Yeah, just like everything in the Castle of the Ancients is nuts. Like, they throw out everything in the kitchen sink. There's chimeras, there's dragons, there's skeletons, there's centaur gunners, there's like the missile robots, and then like the boss being the 3 heads of Colossus. Mm-hmm. They just throw so much crud at you. And then you don't even get to rest. As soon as you beat the boss, it's like, all right, part 2. There's Dark Soul. Mm-hmm. And that was where we did the with Trefave and Gort.
Yes,
running off on their like solo mission while the rest of the party went the other way. And then we had Tao and Diane like in the middle, kind of manning that fort, just like sniping.
Yup.
The robots from a distance. Oh, that was such an intense and cool chapter.
Yup. And then again, the fact that, like, because, like, this chase in this game has felt so exhilarating because, like, Dark Soul always feels like he's one step ahead of you, but you are, like, right on his heels the whole time.
Yeah, it's never like he's so far ahead that it feels hopeless.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that, like, you know, once you finally beat him, then he's like, all right, the last of my strength, I'm bringing back Dark Dragon. And it's just like, of course, we knew it was going to be the final boss, but like the fact that it was like there on the like under the ground, like you could see its skeletal remains, and then it comes back up, and I'm just like, this is so cool.
I will say it's definitely the case of like Dark Dragon is like a thing that they allude to throughout the game, but it definitely is just a big mindless destructive monster as opposed to like all the chemistry that you've been building up with Dark Soul as an antagonist. So like I don't feel as much of like an attachment to Dark Dragon as an enemy because it is just a big monster that's like made for the final battle. But I do like how it is like Dark Soul getting the last laugh before he goes. Well, just his final like, I did it, screw you, dragon's back, I win. And then you have to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, well, and because I would argue too that it's not like out of nowhere, because like we know that like from the get-go, that has been Dark Soul's motivation, is I'm going to bring this dragon back. And like, you know that we're like, he's probably going to succeed and we're probably going to have to fight it.
It's built up. There's like the prophecy in the prologue of the game and everything as well. Like the whole thing, you know the dragon's coming. Like why would it be a fantasy game without the big fight against the dragon? And it's not even really a complaint. Like it's still a cool final fight and stuff. It's just that for me, like the real emotional catharsis of the battle is against Dark Soul more so than the dragon, and fighting Dark Dragon kind of feels more like us just wrapping up the plot more so than like the big battle we've been waiting for. Maybe that's just me.
It might just be you, because for me, like the big dragon feels like it's still tied into Dark Soul's ambitions, that like this is everything he was working towards, and like if we don't stop this now, Dark Soul, even though he's dead, still wins.
Yeah.
And so like it's cathartic in that sense, that like we still have that tie to him.
And definitely also from a gameplay standpoint, it's a very difficult final encounter.
Oh yeah.
It requires some good strategy and coordinating to make it through.
Well, especially cuz like, you know, there's the fact that he's got those like two little spawners that will keep spitting out enemies unless you put somebody there to just be like, I'm holding the point. But unfortunately that puts them directly in range of Dark Dragon's attacks. And so it's like, you gotta be able to sit and take a beating. And like, I remember like when we were sitting there and we're like, I think Diane is gonna die, and she survived with like 3 hit points.
It was so clutch.
It was like the hypest moment. We also with Ken with the Valkyrie, and he's like, I'll slam dunk it in there.
Yeah, there is, again, to talk about how like forward thinking the devs were and everything. And again, for the final time, to compare this to something cool from Fire Emblem, but I remember during Fire Emblem Awakening's final boss, that being like one of the gimmicks of it is like there's the units out back, and then there's like the big final boss that you need to beat the chapter. But in addition to fighting him, like they keep spawning in more reinforcements, and me thinking like, oh, that's a good way to create the pressure to like go and fight him and not dilly-dally. And like, I just thought that was impressive for Fire Emblem Awakening, which is on the 3DS all these years later. They're doing the same thing in this fight with the little like spawners for the enemies and stuff. I'm like, wow, they really thought about a lot when they were making this game. It's cool.
It's neat. Like, I was sitting here, and again, I think we were like the perfect level for that whole encounter, that whole map to just be as stressful as possible. Because like we were putting out good damage, but so was the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like, you know, it has 3 heads, and so it's like we need 3 separate teams to deal with it.
I realized a little too late that it probably would be better to have everybody after one head at a time. Because then I could keep everybody in close and use aura to heal the whole party or whatever. But the way that I did it by like splitting off the group into 3 teams and going after each of the heads simultaneously, it made it pretty hype.
It was so hype, dude. Oh man. And then just the ending was so good.
That little twist at the end of having Max like stuck there having to seal the dragon and he gets left behind.
Yeah, well, and the fact that he uses the egress spell to get everyone else out. That it's
he casts it on all of them, but then he stays.
Mm-hmm. Big, cool, heroic sacrifice. I was like, this is so cool. Because, like, because it's, we're out in the middle of the ocean, like, in this giant castle that we've had to fight our way up, and the whole thing is coming down. And it's like, there's no way that, like, we'd feasibly get out. And it's like, yes, because we literally have a spell that is the escape spell. And I just think that's so cool that, like, the way it ties in was awesome.
Great way of using a gameplay concept to express something in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that the game properly ends.
Yes.
This was such a good plot twist. The fact, we didn't mention this too much, but the menu as it opens up at the start of the game is, what's her name, Simone, reading the little book and telling you about the story. And it's this very, like, you as the player she's talking to. And you're like, oh, this is just how we interact with the menu. And so the fact that they say history says, like, oh, Max was never seen again, or whatever. And you're like, oh, he made the heroic sacrifice for everybody else. But then it ends with her, with the book again. And she's like, well, that's what the book says, but you and I know differently. And again, it's the fact you can name the character, and this maybe is one point in favor of the way they localized and made the main character a blank slate for you. She calls you by your character's name. Because you are Max or Trefave or whatever you name the protagonist, and it's you and her talking about the story of how this happened. It's like, yo!
It's so cool. Watching you like lose it over that was maybe one of the most satisfying moments of this playthrough.
Like, that's the thing, right? It's no Undertale with, like, the plot twist of, like, you name the player character or whatever, but, like, that was a clever ending. And especially with, like, how, like, sort of generic the plot had felt the whole time, I was not ready for such a smart plot twist at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was so cool.
It was. I love this game. It's so good.
I don't know if people would even freak out about this ending like I am, but that's a great freaking ending.
No, it's really cool. As well as, like, that was one of the things too. Another reason, just to walk it back to just May, and one of the reasons I like her so much is that she's there at the ending, like calling out for Max. And again, it's implied that she despises humans.
Yeah.
And yet there she is, like, has grown to care for this person. They're kind of like one of my number one ships in this game because I think they're cute together. But, like, I think it's just neat that she got a little something right there at the end, and the fact that, like, Trefave made it out. And, like,
yeah,
it's so cool to think about, how did this happen? And also the fact that, like, now he is, like, this wandering guy with a robot best friend, because Adam's also there with him.
Yeah, you get the little prologue thing where, like, he and Adam are, like, at this random farmhand's place, and he becomes, like, this living legend who's still, like, wandering the earth.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too,
it's cool.
I know that in like later games in the franchise and even like spin-off games, Max is always accompanied by Adam.
Which is really cool.
I just think that's so cool that this wandering swordsman legendary hero has a robot best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so cool.
Imagine how impactful that would have been if Adam didn't suck stat-wise.
I don't know. Maybe Max put some levels into him in their time apart.
I think here's the thing, more so than like the stats of Adam, because like he's usable if you get him caught up level wise.
Yeah.
I think they should have just given you Adam earlier.
Yeah.
And then like when you get to all the robot stuff later, then you have him as like a through line for like, this is what's going on.
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
I wonder what a randomizer of this game would be like.
I do too. Now that you mention it.
I just had that thought.
That's fascinating.
Now. That's interesting.
I've seen Fire Emblem randomizers and they're crazy, so
yeah.
It would be very fascinating to see how this game handles it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this game's just neat.
It's just really cool vibes the whole way through.
So, unless you had anything else to add.
No, I think we covered it pretty thoroughly.
Is it time to trafave?
It's time to trade our faves with Trafave.
Oh, man.
All right, first up, tell me, what's your favorite song from the game's soundtrack?
This was tough.
Yeah, this one was hard. I've got honorable mentions, but I did have a clear winner.
I do have 2 honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
The first one for me was Simone's theme when you're at the main menu.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I just, like, again, when we first booted this up and I heard that for the first time, I got hit with so much nostalgia, and I was like, I love this. I love this so much.
It's such a welcoming theme.
I also want to give an honorable mention to, like, the HQ theme. Your headquarters.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Just because, like, you know, it's like such a cheerful little marching tune that you're like, yeah, me and my friends, this squad that I've put together, we're marching across the land and we're gonna go defeat evil. Like, it's so cheerful and like uplifting.
Yeah.
But if I'm being real, I can't give it to any other song than Battle 3, which is also known as the Circus Battle.
Mm-hmm.
This song is so good.
I believe also there's like official names for the soundtrack, but they're all in Japanese. And,
yeah.
like, nobody translates them. Doing what I could to kind of just dork around with Google Translate, I believe the track is titled Worthy Opponent.
Ooh.
Which is a pretty cool name for it, because it happens at a lot of those, like, big battles with, like, iconic enemies.
Oh, man. Because, like, I love, like, you feel the intensity of that song and how tense it is. And then, like, it has that little heroic refrain in the middle of it. And it gets me amped every time I hear it. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm. And I did mention this earlier before, but it being a remix of the town theme, it's so amazing how they took that, like, cute, friendly, fun song and made it just so hectic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is an instant, like, spike in adrenaline when I hear that song.
Yes, agreed. What about yourself?
So that track definitely is one of my honorable mentions.
Good.
I talked about it quite a bit at length, but the Destroyed Town theme as well is another one. Another honorable mention. Notably, one that, like, really caught me, and it just barely makes honorable mention, but I do want to highlight it, it's just the title screen.
Yes! That was another
Every time
one.
we booted up the game, surely you noticed how happy I was to hear that little jingle.
Surely
every
you
time.
noticed how happy I was as well when we started
Right.
playing the game.
It's just so charming, and the way they use the instruments to kind of allude, again, as I said at the beginning, the whole orchestral vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It's so triumphant. It's so like, yeah, let's do this every time you boot up the game. The one I had to give it to that just barely beats that out, though. On the Japanese soundtrack, it's titled Akuma no Ibuki, which is Devil's Breath, which is Battle 5, or the like final set of maps where you fight Colossus and Dark Soul.
Mm-hmm.
So like right before the big dragon battle, those two. That one is so intense. It has such an alarming start to it. And then it just has this like slow marching, like it feels like you're walking towards impending doom. And like the final boss fight song is also very cool when you fight the dragon. But I just love this like precursor to it with these first two battles that precede the final battle. And like I think this music track especially like made that for me.
Yeah. No, I see it.
The fifth battle theme, there's just something that's so like intense about it that I loved. The game's got so much good music.
It does. You know what else this game's got? Recruitable units.
It's got good characters too.
Do you have a favorite?
So the funny thing is, I have one honorable mention and 3 tied favorites. I really tried to pick amongst them all, but it was just a little too hard. So honorable mention goes to Henri. Again, I wish I used her more. I like that she's one of the more plot relevant characters. And she's just like really pretty and really cool and powerful. And I was a numbskull for not using her, so I will next time. But my 3 favorite characters, so this first one should be very obvious, but Tao.
Yes!
Obviously. The nuke.
She's so cool.
Should you choose, she's the nuke in a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
She's just such a fun character. And like, I've never had this much fun using a spellcaster character in like anything that I've played. Mm-hmm. So she's one of my favorites. Of course, it's a package deal. So my second favorite, like tied for favorite, is Diane.
Yep.
Because again, just the strategy of using those two, so awesome. But I talked about them quite a bit, and this other character that ties for my favorite, I kind of didn't touch on too much, but Blue is the other one that I love him. He's so cool.
It kind of surprised me you didn't talk about him as much, considering when we were playing, you were like, dude, Blue is so just cool.
Like, I slapped the power ring on him. At first, it was to help him keep up. But then just having him being overpowered was awesome, so I kept doing it. And just having him, like, fly anywhere, not be afraid of anything, and just blast through all the enemies. Like, I mentioned this from the start, I love dragons. And everything I mentioned about how he's, like, a young dragon, and you're helping him find his confidence or whatever, because everyone describes him as a crybaby at first, and you like help him find his confidence and whatever. It's just like, oh, I love this guy. He's got like an Aerodactyl color scheme. It's a really nice shade of gray. Anyway, your favorite characters.
So like, if I'm to list honorable mentions, I'm listing like half the cast.
Yeah.
Because like, there are so many characters I love. Freaking Domingo is like contender. You know, Xylo, Chris, Tao, like I mentioned, I named a Pokemon after her. But if I'm like looking at the list honestly and objectively, I gotta give it to my girl May.
Of course, yeah.
Like, she's fun to use. She has so much personality, and she gets like a big character arc. She hates humans. She's driven by revenge, and the fact that like her father is is Max's mentor is like, she's such an interesting, cool character, and she's like, I'm so glad that you get her so early on so that you can just keep using her. She's just cool. I love her.
Mm-hmm. I do love how involved with the plot she is in this cast of characters that, like, some get some involvement, but for the most part, they're kind of, not as significant storyline wise. Yeah, very one and done characters. So the fact that she stays significant and like a lot of her motivations are tied to like the main themes of the game, it's like she is cool. I didn't use her, but like I certainly respect her. She also kind of looks like Zelda, which is fun. We're gonna keep calling Max Link.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's good stuff. I agree. She's a great character. Okay, next category. We've got favorite map. Favorite battle map.
Ooh. So I talked about him at length. I really want to give an honorable mention to the laser eye, because like I think the setup for that map was so good.
That one's an honorable mention for me as well.
I can't give it to anything other than Alterone, because that battle has stuck with me for years. Like, it was mind-shattering as a child that, like, this town that I was exploring is now a battlefield. Everything is exactly as it was, but now all of the buildings are destroyed and you can use them as cover and stuff. And, like, it was just, that map has stuck with me, and I love it so much.
Yeah, it's super cool. One honorable mention for me is, we didn't actually talk about it too much, but the Tower of the Ancients, as I mentioned that chapter, with like where you fully get like robot enemies to fight against. And there's not really like a crazy gimmick to that chapter either, which is kind of surprising, but there's like you're ascending up the castle in these kind of like twisting roads that like slowly get you closer and closer to the top. And something about that chapter, I just remember having a ton of fun on that one, even though there's not like any major gimmicks. You're just weaving through the areas and fighting robots. I think that was also like where I first like really got to try out Musashi, and so I was having some fun with that as well. But yeah, so that one's pretty good. But for me, I gushed plenty about it, but like just that final gauntlet where you're fighting Colossus and then Dark Soul and then Dark Dragon was so cool.
It was great.
It's like, I love how just everything it is there. Like, all of the enemy types are so weird and intense and insanely powerful, and you're like, oh man, I gotta lock in.
Mm-hmm. Right on, right on. All right, now we're doing our favorite moment.
Mm-hmm.
Our favorite moment in game.
Yeah. So mine is maybe not like a particular moment, like one instance of this happening, but something that is kind of steadily done throughout the game. But for me, I think my favorite thing was just the introduction of robots into the plot.
Yeah.
And how, like, you get, like, the laser eye, and then you see a few more show up, and then a few more. And then by the time you see, like, Adam and stuff, then you start getting chapters where you're exclusively fighting robots.
Mm-hmm.
And the robots just keep getting used in interesting ways. So, like, rather than pick a single moment when it happens, it's just the way that they slowly introduce you to them throughout the game is, like, my favorite part.
Ooh, yeah.
So what's your favorite in-game moment?
it's funny because it's dominated like half my list.
Mm-hmm.
But it is once again just the battle in Alterone.
Yeah.
Has just
no, I think that's fair.
It has stuck with me, and again, I just think it's so interesting and neat that a game could do something like that. And again, I won't sit on it for too long here, but like it really is like it was a pivotal moment for me in my childhood, and one of the reasons that like I remember this game years later because of that moment, and getting to like experience it with a friend and then by myself and then now again with you is just it hits, man. It's so good.
No, I could definitely see that. It was a good one.
All right. Our playthrough.
Yep. So now not just like talking about the game in general, but specifically from us going through the game together.
Yeah.
Favorite moment or part?
I know normally I would go first here, but I'm curious what yours is, if you don't mind going.
That is fair. It's really hard to just pick one.
Yeah, no, because like mine, I can't just narrow it down to one. Is like the thing, and so I'm like, I just want to hear what you have to say, because.
And I will say, like, if we had done this at a different point in time, or like if it didn't take us as long to get through the game, I might have a different answer. Just because like we had so much fun doing stuff, and then I forgot like stuff that would happen, and then you'd remind me of things that happened way after the fact. But one of the ones that I do remember very distinctly was the series of clutch plays during the Dark Dragon fight.
Yes.
As you mentioned, like Diane being low on health and then dodging Dark Dragon's attack. Domingo landing an insane crit that just dealt a ton of damage.
Oh, I wrote it down. He dealt like 88 damage.
Yeah, that was insane. And like Ken just constantly being clutch during that chapter. There was just like it started with Diane dodging that one hit, and I was just like, yo! And then like Domingo got his crit, and I was like, yo! And just like stuff kept happening, a domino effect of like hype moments that led to me beating the fight. And then of course like we also were like freaking out over like the final hit. We did it with Trefave, and he gets like the unique animation.
Yup.
How he like shoots the wave from his sword and stuff. Just everything about that whole finale just had me like popping out of my seat.
Mm-hmm. I will say like that is an honorable mention for me. Mm-hmm. Was like your reaction to that fight and just like the ending was so satisfying for me, and I'll talk more about that like in my final thoughts. But for me, and like I said, I can't narrow it down to just one. But I think for me, it was like all of the voices and jokes that we made along the way, like stuff like just Hans, because like my wife would hear us talking in the other room and would bring up like, oh, you guys talking about Hans again, or like Ken being Sonic, and just like the whole army be like, hey Ernest, check this out. Like it just, we had so much fun. And again, one of my favorite things that I've been doing when we've been playing these games is like just writing down the stupid things that we say and crack each other up. And just like, like I just flipped him one, and it's just like Ken being like, my life is flashing before my eyes. Oh, so that's where I left my Hot Pocket. Like, or like the teabagging skeleton and the giant bats.
The teabagging skeletons.
I didn't live through the horrors of war just to lose Luke. Like we made so many jokes. I think that was part of it too. Was like because like this isn't a game that had voice acting and we got to like make these characters our own, I think was my favorite part because it made them more memorable. Because like I remembered Hans and I remembered like in my solo playthrough I benched him. But then, like, because we made him such a meme, like, even after we benched him, his legacy lived on. Like, and we would, like, still pull out the voice and, like, say things as him. And so, I don't know. I think it was just, like, the jokes and voices that, like, really made this playthrough for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think stuff like that is kind of why in the future, maybe this category, instead of being like favorite moment, will be more like your favorite part of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's hard to nail it down to just like a single thing when there's like
so
much stupid and fun stuff we're doing throughout the game. But...
I would say sometimes there is, but sometimes like it gets really hard in like a game like this where like we threw so much at it.
And it paid off quite well.
It did. So yeah, it's final thoughts next.
Yeah, to wrap things up, if you wanna...
Yeah, I'll go first since I showed you this game.
Yep. Take the lead.
Again, I just like this game. Like, it is such a guilty pleasure game for me. It is flawed and it is old, but dang is it charming, man. It's just classic fantasy cliches, but then it does fun and interesting things with those cliches. And, like, my biggest fear, you know, I was scared that you wouldn't like this game. You know, I remember you peeking over my shoulder at me playing, and you're just like, okay, whatever. You know, and like, I was so worried that I was like, I really want to play this game and so we can talk about it. But I'm so, like, again, it's always the fear of like, I hope you like this game and it's not just, oh, okay, it's whatever. You know, but especially with this one, because I know it's kind of old and crusty. You know, and it's got a little bit of jank to it. But this playthrough showed me it is still a solid game. Like, there is still some real value here, and I love it. And so, I don't know, that's just kind of what I feel about this game, is like, I was worried, and then playing through it with you just made me be like, no, this game is still good.
Yeah. So the way that I would sort of summarize how I feel, and as you kind of know this about me, but I don't really like to rate games like scale of 1 to 10 or give it a letter grade or whatever. I don't really like to do that because like I feel like my feelings are too complicated to summarize with just like a single sort of qualifier. But like the way that I feel about this game is that like it's kind of like a 7 out of 10 game. But sometimes a 7 out of 10 is the 10 out of 10 that you need in the moment. If that makes any sense.
No, I get what you're saying, is that like it's not perfect.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want an insane, overblown, extremely bloated AAA game. Sometimes you want something simple and silly and stupid and just like plain and fun. And, like, this is one of those games that kind of hits that for me. Like, it is, like, I do kind of see it more as, like, oh, this quaint, silly little game that I had fun with. But, like, it holds up in a lot of ways.
That's the fascinating part about it, is that it holds up.
It really, like, caught me off guard because, like, it kind of meets you with the silly energy first. And then it, like, if you take the time to respect the game, because that's the thing, like, not just me watching over your shoulder playing the game, but, like I mentioned, I tried it before. I played the game, and it didn't connect with me at first. But I think now that my tastes have evolved, like, this kind of is a game that I like, you know? Like, it embraces its silliness in a lot of these moments of the game, but it also tries to be sincere. And, like, even when it's not sure how to be sincere, you can tell that it's still trying. When there's, like, the silly moments where, like, they don't have a way to express that a character died, and so it'll just be like, King dies. And that's all it says. Like, it's silly and it's something to laugh at, but, like, even then, despite the silliness, like, you can tell that they're trying to tell a grand story. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to break through the limitations of what game design would let them do back in the day. And so, and, like, the game manages to have these, like, really surprising plot twists, and it manages to have all this stuff that you just don't expect it to have because it's an old game. I think, like, this will always be a thing that I love in video games, but, like, conveying story themes through gameplay mechanics is just something that I love so much. And this game almost kind of does that more than it tells you the story. It actually kind of does, like, show more than it tells in a weird sort of way. With, you know, just stuff like the different types of enemies that show up in the areas and the way the map gimmicks work and stuff. Like, in addition to the plot that's there because it's an RPG, you kind of, like, have your adventure and, like, tell a story of your own. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the fact that we kind of did that too by giving all the characters silly voices and voice acting them and coming up with our own headcanons and stuff, like, we got, like, this game's really cool story and then created our story on the side of that. Mm-hmm. And I love that the game let me do that. I think just, like, all in all, like, I do want to see where the series goes, because, like, I know a lot of people are very fond about this game, but I don't know too much about the rest of the series, and so it's got me curious. And, like, I would definitely, like, from this one game alone, there's a lot that I wish Fire Emblem would take from it and start incorporating it into its thing, but to even just set aside the Fire Emblem comparisons, because I was doing it the whole episode, even though I said I didn't want to. Mm-hmm. It's just a very charming game. And I love games like this. It's I don't know if it'd ever be, like, game of the year necessarily for me. I guess it depends on what I play this year, because it's certainly up there with what I've played so far, but so I don't know, maybe it could be game of the year, but like I said, sometimes the 7 out of 10 game is the 10 out of 10 that you need.
Sometimes, yeah. I like that.
So that was The Shining Force. Or, as I'm learning now, it's just Shining Force. That actually, the number of times that I've searched The Shining Force, and it's just seeing the text Shining Force, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I get real technical, it's Shining Force Legacy of Great Intention.
The Legacy of Great Intention. And boy, did they intend.
They intend for you to have a good time.
You might not, but they intended for it. I'm being mean now, it's fine. It's a good game.
Oh, man.
Okay, well, next item of business is for me to tease what we're playing next time.
That's right.
Oh boy. So, next time on Tradin Faves, a game I am so excited to show David. With our last game being Hades, it's been a while since I got to pick the game that we're going to do next. And so I picked out a really cool one to... Wait, where's the game? Wait, I had it right here. Oh my gosh, what's this? It's a note. It's mostly got weird symbols on it, but there is this part that I can read. It says, "There's something you need to discuss first." Oh, that's really strange. It's kind of like covered in white fluff. Is this dog hair? Is that Toby Fox? Wait, come back! He's got my game! Well, looks like we need to take another detour before I can get to my game. We gotta play... Well, I mean, we've played it, but we gotta talk about Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4, obviously. That's... Woohoo! We did it for the other two. There's no way we're gonna let this slip through the cracks.
Nope.
But then we'll get to my game that I'm really excited to share. I will get it back from you, Toby. That mangy mutt. No, I am excited to go back to Deltarune. It was, as you might have known from that other video we did, I kind of said it was my game of the year last year, so I do have a lot to say about it.
Oh boy. I'm excited. I want to sit down and, like, share my... Because that's the other thing, too, is I was like, we're going to talk about it, so I'm just not going to say anything, but it's... Yep. I love this game.
We've both been, like, going crazy about it, but also knowing that we're going to talk about it, so we couldn't say anything to each other.
I know.
It'll be nice to just finally have that done.
Yes.
Well, then, I guess my final words to wrap this up... David, I don't think I'll live much longer, though we completed the episode. Please, tell my viewers in Man Arena to like, comment, and subscribe for their podcast. Joseph dies.
Wow.
Emotional ending, right?
Yeah. I like the implications too that you were royalty. Well, I mean, there's no law that a king can't own a podcast.
Yeah. All right, you got me.
Well, so funny story about that.
Unless you're not using a professional setup.
Well, no. So I am.
Like you are.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm using her very nice microphone, her very nice computer, her nice insulated covered room. So you remember how I had an awful month?
Yes.
And how there was a leak that flooded in the basement? It thankfully missed all of her recording equipment.
Yes!
But I am looking out of a giant hole where the repair people cut a hole in the wall and have not been back to replace it. And, like, they had to move the blanket out of the way that, like, absorbs the sound. So there's just a hole here. And I'm looking right at it. So hopefully...
It's not, like, a hole that's exposed to the outdoors, is it? It's, like, still the house, right? Okay.
No, yeah. It's literally, like... You've seen my basement.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you
know how you go
see
down...
from one area into the other.
You know, like, when you go down the stairs and there's that little, like, hallway that leads to the door?
Yeah.
Yeah, that wall that connects to the rest of the basement and is part of that hallway, there's just a hole there. Like, they've just cut out all of the drywall, and so I'm just seeing, oh, hi, cat, you just crawled through the hole.
Meow. Hello.
Hello, I'm here now. They just were like, yeah, we'll come tomorrow and we'll finish the job. And it's been like a week, and they have not. And then, like, the wifey called them and was like, hey, are you guys coming to, like, finish this? And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry, we'll be there. And then they haven't been.
I just remembered we're supposed to do that. Let me write it down. Doesn't write it down.
Yeah, needless to say, it's been a fat minute, and I've been dealing with a lot.
It's been 1 week since they looked at you.
I was just gonna make that joke, and you beat me to it!
That's what I do.
You steam a good ham.
I just need you loud enough that I can hear you now while I'm talking to you.
Nope, that
And
is
then-
fair. I will enunciate.
Yeah, Discord really didn't want me to hear you say that. But, again, that's Discord on the final recording. That'll be there. And it won't make it into the episode.
Oh.
Or it will.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
it'll
a
be in my
blooper.
audio that I'm sending you.
This guy over here with his bloopers.
It's me, the blooper king.
Hey,
Goopa
yo, it's
blooper.
me. It's me, Blue the Dragon. I spit lightning breath or something.
Hey, forget about it.
Boo!
It's just like electrocutes him.
That's what I'm saying, though. Domingo is the newborn baby.
Oh, yeah.
So we gave him the, don't you give it to me in that sippy cup.
I'm an adult and I want it in an adult glass.
Are you ready to start?
I've hit record, man. I've been ready.
You're like, I'm just returning to sender.
Return to sender. Load the nuke.
Launch
Cast-
the nukes!
Cast Blaze level 4.
We have an army. We have 2 elven girls.
Exactly. Screw it.
Perfect.
I don't care how big the room is. I cast Fireball.
I cast Fireball level 3.
That's. I don't know if you know the D&D meme is. Like,
Yes, I do know the D&D one, where it's like,
Well-
I didn't ask how big the room was. I said, I cast Fireball.
Well, so there's that one, but then there's
That's-
also it's Firebolt is deer and then name, and then Fireball is to whom it may concern.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you for withholding the funny until I took a drink.
Wouldn't want your whole setup to be at risk of water damage a second time. But trust me, the urge was there. I'm quite resilient like that. I'm quite Brazilian like that.
My motives are often complex.
A snail made its way down the path of one.
You can't even finish the sentence. I'm picking it up and I'm passing it to you. You can start.
Here we go.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I passed it to you. That
Brother.
that sigh spoke volumes.
That is the 3 weeks of us not recording this thing, all encapsulated into a single sigh.
Okay, I promise I'll be professional.
I'll shut up now.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up now. How do I Uno reverse this?
Yeah, it was like that's not where I was going with that, and then you got me. Hook, line, and
Joseph
sinker.
dies
I fell for
again.
it. Joseph dies of cringe.
Dies of cringe. Play the crit sound effect. Ernest saying, Maria.